So I'm going to start recording there. So we can begin by looking at Solana, right? And again, for those of you that just joined, the question that my brother Erico asked was, how can you look for accumulation, basically, right? So we can look at Solana and try and see whether we see signs of accumulation or not. So I'm just going to go to this, and Solana should be here somewhere. We'll go with Binance. Why not? Now, right off the bat, the first thing you ask yourself always is, are we at a significant enough level to consider for accumulation and such, right? So why is there only one SOL chart here? But if I was to just go ahead just real quick and turn some of these off, there, there we go. You just ask yourselves, number one, are we at a significant enough area, right? So I'm just going to go ahead and put some levels down real quick. There's number one, and I'm sure we could get a couple more down. So if I did the macro read, that's right over there. Let me just color that red. And number three would be this one on to the left, right over here. If I did that, let's color this one yellow. There we go. So we know the area that we currently are at has a lot of yearly levels, right? It's got a lot of yearly levels stacking up, with the lowest one for this area being at 79. So we know that this is a significant area for us to actually try and hold. If we can hold this, yes, we can easily see some moves back to the upside, because we would have held what is a very, very significant area. But the question is, do we see signs of accumulation? And now if we take a look just at the candlestick, this is what most people do. You look just at the candlestick. I would say, just looking at this, you probably don't have enough signs on something like the monthly that we are accumulating, right? It's a bit, you can then start to see more zoomed in levels once you go down the time frames. But if you look at something like the monthly, for example, there is nothing screaming accumulation right at this particular moment, right? Not on something higher time frame like the monthly. And I'm going to go ahead, put that monthly down, and in the meantime, I will go ahead and close this one here, there. Okay. Then all you do is go down. So on the weekly, yes, then one can look at this and argue that, okay, there is some sort of accumulation taking place. So if that is the monthly buy zone that was created, here is the weekly, right? There's your weekly buy zone. We can see the mid of the weekly buy zone was retested many times. It was never lost. So in terms of candlesticks, in terms of raw data, right? In terms of the visual raw data, one can look at this and be like, okay, sellers have tried multiple times to break down and they've not succeeded, right? So yes, there's clearly some people buying this over here. That is by definition, even if it's not the full structure you want to see, that is by definition what accumulation is, right? It's, buyers taking supply off the market and holding a significant area. We can see that on the weekly, we can see that on the 3-day, we can see that on the daily. But the real question is, was there significant enough volume to now take this seriously, right? Was there significant enough volume to take this seriously, to look at this and be like, yep, that's the low for sure? Well, the first thing I would say is just we don't even have to do anything crazy yet, right? Just by looking at this chart, you can't look at this and tell me, oh yeah, the long-term low is in, right? Because if you do that, you're basically giving me a coin flip. There is no real reason why you would look at this right now and you would say, oh yeah, the long-term low is in, right? The trend is to the downside. We know that very much, right? You've been distributing this entire cycle from 2023, or rather from 2022 low. You had an insane bull run. You S&P'd your all-time highs. You distributed. We can literally see the inverse smiley face right there. Right, there's your inverse smiley face. So you've distributed, and for now, yes, the distribution has led to lower, but there's no signs telling you that, okay, it's over, right? This is the bottom. We're going to go to new all-time highs from here. What we can then do is look at things like footprint charts, right? Then let me just click on the auto, make sure, okay, this should be good enough for now. So we're going to go to Solana. And look at the volume, 3.93 million, right? Not the best, but also not bad, right? It's, there's coins with more volume. So for example, you can see right now that actually SWI has way more volume than Solana does, right? And then now what I'm interested in is, what kind of price action correlation are we getting at these lows, right? So if I go to settings, I'm just going to change this to 10 ticks to begin with. Is that granular enough? And I'm just going to see if it spazzes out if I go to 1. It will, so I'm going to stick to 10. So we look at the weekly. And what I want to do is pay attention to the actual traded volume that has come in, right? So this is not the USDT pair. This is spot pair, which is what I want to see. I don't care what the perp chart is doing, right? If you want to just talk, is the low is in? Yes, you know you can look at the perp chart, but ultimately it's going to be spot that drives the actual. You want to see spot holders defending areas, right? You don't want spot holders selling. So if we take a look at this low, right, and this is on the weekly again, we take a look at the average volume that Solana brings in a week, like, 26, 16, 20, 20, 20. We would say the volume hasn't increased dramatically, but it hasn't decreased either, right? So now that adds weight to this weekly structure that we are currently seeing. It's telling us that even at these lows, it's not like there is a reduction in the interest, right, that this asset is facing. Because apart from that not the 1010 wick, sorry, apart from that 2026 February dump wick, which is right over here, we can see the average volume is, it's around that 10 to 25, right? 15 to 25, let's say, million range, right? That's the average volume, even before this dump, right? We can see that. Yes, when we're at all-time highs, when we're getting more excessive events, volume is going to be significantly higher. But at the lows, even in the boring times, because this 100% was boring times, we're seeing at least that there is no reduction in the amount of traded volume that's taken place for this asset, right? So for me, that's a good sign. That's adding more weight to the actual structure that we're looking at on the weekly. So we know we're at yearly levels. We know that the liquidation. In this case, you can say the liquidation candle, the big sharp down impulse, the weekly mid of that has been held right as support. This has been respected as support, and the volume hasn't decreased. That's the important thing, right? Then you can check, okay, what is the next steps? Because, okay, you might be accumulating here, but is that accumulation going to then, how easy is it, let's say, rather, for that accumulation to now lead to, let's say, because if you're looking at accumulation here, what you're expecting moves to the upside, right? Now your question becomes, is it a good idea for me to get in right now, or will I get a more defined edge, waiting for perhaps a move up to like a retest or something like this? And for me, I think it's clear. It doesn't matter where you enter on Solana around this range. It could be 106, it could be 80, right? If you fully expect this to go to new all-time highs, you're not going to care whether you entered up here, whether you enter here. And I would argue, if you want this confirmation accumulation to be confirmed, right, what you want to see is a move up, take out some of this liquidity. We have this massive bearish consolidation above us, right? Go into that, do all the hard stuff, take it out, and then flip the accumulation into support. That's what you want to see, right? You want to see this. You want to see a sign that this accumulation has turned into support. That if sellers ever decide to attack this area in the future, buyers will step in, right? Because the accumulation has been done, right? You want to see signs like that, and that there, even off accumulation, moments like that where you really get your entries that are like amazing in terms of both your risk to reward, but also timing, because if the bag isn't ready, right? If the composite man, let's say, hasn't got his bags packed, then that retest is most likely going to just, not go straight off the top or go deeper, so the composite man has more time to accumulate. And moments like that, when you then start seeing liquidity flushes, right? Because if this breakout is not successful and you can't even get above this, then the next thing you'll do is come and take liquidity. Where's the liquidity? If you can't break above this, it's going to be to the downside. You can see that building up right over here, right? So accumulation is underway, is what you would currently say is Solana, but it's not been confirmed, right? So you can't look at this and be like, okay, we've got a range where buyers have clearly accumulated. We can't say that yet, right? Because there's been nothing in terms of price action to tell us that, okay, the accumulation has been retested, the accumulation looks solid. Price action hasn't given us anything like that yet, right? And for example, what I want to see is something like this. If you look at Link, and this was a beautiful example because this was why I got you guys into Link in the previous run up, right? Especially a few years ago. If we were to go to this, and then we were to look at Link, this is accumulation, right? There you go. That was beautiful accumulation, and this is what Solana is attempting to do right now, right? It's going sideways. You can look at that and you can say, yes, that's accumulation, right? Because the signs were there, right? And in this case, it was even better because you had your smiley face being printed, right? You have accumulative structure, you have support, radon liquidity, reconfirmation and support. Solana hasn't done none of that yet, right? But Link had everything you would want to see to get good entries at the lows. But notice, where did that actual extremely parabolic move happen, right? It happened after you broke out and confirmed that accumulation was support, right? That this now is an area where buyers have held. The composite man has his bag packed. There is no business for this asset to go any lower than the highs of this, right? The composite man has his bag packed. The big players have packed their bags. There is no reason to go lower. That is what that told you, right? And this again, this was something I pointed out, and so was the retest, right? These are both entries that we had. And that is what gave you your massive move up, right? So for prop this, when this retest happens, you actually have a whole thesis, right, for your accumulation. There's your consolidation range. That's been retested. It's not going lower because bags are packed for the big players. Therefore, that is accumulation, right? You want to play higher as long as you're above that, right? So truly, this is when accumulation was confirmed, right? Yes, obviously you had the move up, but in terms of actual confirmation, that is when this happened. And the reason I say on higher time frame, you'd always have more time than you think is exactly for reasons like this, right? Because it's not, 99% of the time, you're not going to just accumulate and be like, okay, we're done now, let's go all the way to all-time highs. It's not going to work that way, right? That's not how price action works. But, if you were to look at Link back at this point in time, in terms of your footprint charts, in terms of your, volume, spot pressure, so on and so forth, everything was lining up to see, okay, well, buyers are trying at key areas, right? Which is what Solana's doing now. So again, which is why I say Solana's could be under the process of accumulation, but we haven't even had this. Like, we haven't even had attempt to break above, like flip range mid, so on and so forth. We haven't even had that yet, right? So I say still a bit too early to look at Solana and be like, yep, that's accumulation. That's definitely going to go higher. When it's moments like this, what you do is you look at the chart and you look simply at RR entries. Have you got an area where you can manage your risk? Because nothing's confirmed yet. If you have an area where you can manage your risk, like those yearly lows, right? $79 yearly lows. As long as you can manage your risk there, you take a shot, right? You take a shot because even though you're aware that accumulation hasn't yet finished, if it is now, let's say if this is the low that's going to do something like this eventually and break up and do this, at least you have a position because you took the risk to reward trade, right? The charts will give you an entry before any sort of news comes out. So in the future, if any good news comes out for Solana, you're already going to have a position open. Like if you don't want to miss that initial move up, right? But in my opinion, it's too early to look at this right now and be like, oh yeah, big players are clearly accumulating and this accumulation is clearly going to lead to a breakout. Right? Until we get above this range, until this liquidity is taken, we see that strength, right? There just isn't enough here because they could easily, look at this range, right? You could go, boop, boop, you could do that and you could go and take that liquidity forward. Who knows, right? We don't know yet. So in the face of all that bearishness, we need to overcome at least a few of these points before we can look at this and be like, great. So for example, if you were to go here, break above, right, and then start flipping this into support, rate to reclaim, you'd have an amazing RR entry there, right? And you'd be above this area where you're considering accumulation. So as long as you didn't break back into this range, you can take trades here to try and run it towards your next consolidation range, which is here. You look for the mid of that. $120, $130 would come, right? So right now, it's under the process of what could be accumulation, but there just isn't enough here to look at this and be like, oh yeah, this is accumulated for sure.
Thanks. I really appreciate this. It's just, I thought that it's crazy. I said, I want maybe it's missing something. Maybe I missed something. That's why I'm asking you. So I said, no. I realized that. I think that it's, the time frame is too short to be an accumulation. It's just like this is how much. Also, the Bitcoin is still on downtrend. So it's just. You know what I mean?
Exactly, no, you're exactly right, bro. And even on the daily, you haven't even broken it down.
I realized that doesn't look good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Anything.
Like this would look much better if you were to do this, put a high low in. Like you'd have some sort of structure building, right? You're still in a downtrend. You haven't broken a downtrend on the daily, on the 4 hours, anything like this. So,
I think everything will be dump and pump.
Yeah, exactly. Like structures like this can lead to moves up. But it's not going to lead to forever bottoms, in my opinion. It can lead to impulses up to grab liquidity higher, but it's not going to be you're not going to be some generational entry, right?
On the esoteric side of things as well, Solana loves to pivot on the summer and winter solstices and the equinoxes as well.
Yeah, and
so what's coming up on that. You can mark those out on your chart and see how well it fits. Fall, summer solstice. Yeah, I don't know. It follows it very well. So, we just need more time. But it looks good. My bot that I built Quanta. Is accumulating. Quanta. Yeah. It's accumulating Solana with others right now.
Yeah, I mean, at these lows, it's like if you're entering long term spot, it's very easy to manage, right? But for
Hmm.
you wouldn't enter here thinking, oh, you've caught the bottom. Like, so accumulation here is not confirmed yet. We need some more structure to build. We need more strength, really, before we can really look at this and be like, yeah, accumulation.
Would
But
you do you ever look at cross asset validation for strength?
do you mean comparing one to another, like Sui versus Sol, for example, or
Yeah, because like crypto, especially the main ones, they're all. And so when Bitcoin, Bitcoin's kind of the rock that moves the water.
yeah,
And I just see like when Bitcoin starts looking really good, that's a good signal to start looking for bottoms and whatnot in other assets.
yeah, for sure.
I mean, it
yeah,
can take time to move over to alts, but yeah,
yeah, 100%. The rotation is always the tricky part because even if we get the rotation, it's not going to be to all coins at once. Some are going to outperform massively compared to others, right? So it's like look at the BTC pairings, ETH pairings, where you are relative to BTC dominance, stablecoin dominance. There's a lot to factor in before you go make a big bid on all coins.
yeah, absolutely.
But that being said, I think things under the Solana ecosystem look good. Jupe looks good. Like we've talked about this for a long time now, but it's Jupe, right? 886, that's a deep crab. Yearly levels tagged, yearly levels held. So, you're trying to break out of your lower, you're doing it as we speak, actually. So it's clear here, right? You wouldn't long here simply because that is a yearly level. But should you flip that, your scalp to swing entries are going to be so easy to manage. You just do this. There you go. You want to be above this. If you get above this, you'll be looking to run this, and all of these basically. Right? So Jupe, things underneath Solana look really, really good. So Jupe looks good. Aether doesn't look good yet, but should you ever go and reclaim that low, it's such a low risk entry. Like, you'd have to give it a shot at that low, right? If you're into Solana and you want to have some Sol betas to run to, like, you go and flip that into support, and that looks to be an M shape of sorts. You form a deep godly, probably. Yeah, there you go. Right, so you hit a deep godly. That's a completed M shape. So if you ever reclaim that low, you're looking to get into towards the mid of this, in my opinion, somewhere around there, right? Which doesn't look like much on the chart, but you got to realize at such a low price, that's still like a 33% move up. Quick scalp. You could get in with spot, get out within a couple of weeks, probably, right? JTO. This one, I would not know how to frame a risk right over here unless you've been in lower time frame. I would honestly love to get a sweep of this low for JTO. I don't know if we will, but the ABCD 2.24, if it hits, that would be absolutely legendary for JTO, right? And there's Pump. I think Pump looks the best. Just look how good this looks. Again, we've talked about this, but Deep Crab, you've got a massive completed 886 as well. So you just got a big ass PRZ here, basically. Out of your bigger downtrend, right, there you go. Not out of the downtrend, but the supply line rather. So as long as you're above the supply line, you're above this, like, it's so easy to manage risk. Now, this is why, these are coins, these are the same coins we've been talking about every single time we stream. When we talk about altcoins, it is super, super easy to manage risks here for some of these. Like Pump, let's say even if you were to just play the Deep Crab, I don't know if it would hit the entire target, but the low for now is, let me say it's this one right here. Let me turn off some of these. I should. The don't need those for now. Like, from here to here, you can go, still put in a lower high and still capture 44%, right? TAT1. So some of these coins, especially underneath Sol, like, they look good. I think, Sol betas look better than Sol right now, hands down. I just look at Pump and compare it to the Solana chart. I know which one I'd bet. And obviously, like, there's no guarantees that liquidity rotation happens and you go up, but what you can do is take a risk, right? If you're taking a risk, especially when we're talking about this last, it's like down here, it's so easy to manage. So, but yeah, those are just some coins, right? Going back to the answer, I would say Solana is trying to accumulate on the daily, but it's just not confirmed yet, right? Like, we can't look at this and be for sure, like, oh yeah, this is the accumulation that's going to give us a forever bottom, or that's going to lead to like a 70% rally or something like this, right? We can't say that yet. There's not enough strength in this area. even in terms of structure, like I've been saying, go to something like the daily. I mean, I know there's a lot of wicks. Maybe 3-day has it cleaner. Doesn't matter how you look at it. On the daily, resistance, rate on liquidity, you need to get above this. If not, it's resistance, right? Even if you go a bit higher, you've already had the inverse once there. Like if you go back up and reject again, that's just going to be another inverse, right? Inverse smiley face. So there's just so much work that needs to be done on Solana right now to get out of not even to get to new highs or to break into a new range, simply to get out of resistance that's been keeping us under, right? Which is just not done yet. So once it does it, obviously it's like, you're waiting for that retest confirmation. You're getting above all of these areas to try and look for entries to the next potential area. But if you're talking higher time frame, and if you're looking for cumulative structures, typically you're looking for higher time frame plays, there's more than enough time to get in on a high time frame play. And this structures like this aren't typically what you see for like a generational high time frame bottom. Number one, there isn't enough time spent, and number two, there isn't enough structure. Right, simple as. But anyway, today what I wanted to do is take a look at crypto and stocks. We look at some crypto, we look at some stocks. Obviously, I need to update my baby, AXTI. This was such a banger. Where's it gone? One sec. This was my one and only Photonics play. And I'm going to... Actually, I'll just do this once. No. Hang on, I've gone blind. It's here somewhere. There. And like I said, right, the reason I sold isn't because I think the top is in. It's simply because it was a lot of money. And relative to how much I put in, right, it's like a 300 and something percent. I hadn't taken a single cent up until this point. And I'd rather sell into strength, like when I haven't taken any profits. Like yes, I'm going to be salty if you like rallies to 160 and I sold too early, but I don't care, right? Because realistically, if you look at where the markets are right now, I can take what I made from XT, which was the total amount made was 68,000, right? Pounds. So I don't know what that is in dollars, but I put it all in the chat, right? Pretty sure. Where was it? It was in the stocks chat. Yeah, it was 68,047.90. Average entry price was 1834, and average exit price was 8028. And the whole reason I got out at 8028, you guys know, I stick by my technicals, is simply because that is where the thingy was, the AB equals CD, if I'm not mistaken. What the hell? Where's all my drawings gone? One sec. Bruh. Is TradingView acting up on me? One sec. If not, I can just draw it again, but it's just annoying because I had everything drawn already. Yeah, that's so peak. I don't know where it went. I don't care. I'll just draw it again. One sec. There was a very, very nice AB equals CD. It was a 786 to a 272. There you go. Now, above the 1.272, this is probably going to go for a 1.414, right? But, which actually is nearly hit, right? But, we're approaching areas where I would look at this and I would consider, okay, well, if not here, then where, right? Because obviously I know it's in price discovery, but also there's something to be said about freeing up liquidity to get into plays that now have the potential to do this again. Right, because now that's 68k. Even if I put 68k and cast another something like this, you can imagine the compounding effect. So that's the reason why I closed AXTI, right? On the CFD account anyway, because obviously CFD is like leverage. I have to pay overnight interest, so on and so forth. So hold spot, like I said, and then you use leverage as a tool to just build up your actual stablecoin wealth. But that's the reason I got out. The 1.272 was at 80 point. Yeah, there you go. 1.272. There. It was a bit. Hang on. This is at 80.01, 80.27, sort of around that area, right? Which is why I got out what we did, because that's not 76 perfectly. If I make it, that'll be 80.24. But yeah, this can go higher, boys. But this is a Photonics play, like I said, right? And obviously Photonics, my whole reason for this, I already gave my thesis for why I entered Axie to begin with on a stream, right? When I first said the chart in January, I also told you guys, look, this is one of the only companies in the world that mines indium, right? Indium phosphate, and you need that for a lot of important stuff in the world. They basically had a hegemony, like a monopoly. They were severely underpriced, in my opinion, which is why you get the retest, you see a good RR trade, you take it, right? That was a simple entry, simple thesis, and it played out. I will buy this again should we get a big dip, but looking at that yearly, like this is your like expansion phase. Like this can go higher. I keep saying this can go higher, but my next area of interest should be very obvious, right? If we get a pullback to anywhere between 49.56 and 33.06, that is where I look to enter. Immediate. That should be the area you guys all mark out, right? That's a yearly level from 2001. We've broken above on the yearly. No retest on the 6 months. No retest on the 4 months. No retest. Wait. It's already given a retest on the 3 months to the mid. It was successful, but on the higher time frame, it hasn't, right? So at some point you'll probably have a pullback to these areas, unless it does something like a Lumentum. I will show you guys a Lumentum chart in a minute, but this is like a retest during a move up, right? What does it look like? Actually, no, on the weekly that was a very clean retest. That was the 2x from there as well, from the all-time high mid flip. But there's charts that will do this and that look like this also, right? So there's opportunities, which is why I'd rather just take that liquidity and just compound it. Basically, that's the reason I got out. But yeah, this looks good. Actually, looks good. You just have to go to something like log to try and figure out how high this could go. I haven't even done that, to be honest. If you look at log, like it's not really had a big move up, right? So maybe you hit the liquidity raid. So if that's the low, we're talking 1 to 2, so it's probably at the, yeah, you're literally at the liquidity rate of the range extreme, like we always talk about. So if you clear this, yeah, actually will go to triple digits, but let's see if we clear it or not first, right? Like I might still trade it on the lower time frame if we get above it, because there's no point fading strength, but I don't regret taking profits here. Like even if it goes up, like I've experienced the market enough. I've been long enough to be like, yeah, whatever. There's no perfect top or bottom sells, and there's always other opportunities. But this was a banger, 300 and something % move. Levels laid out beforehand, entry, trigger, invalidation, everything. So this was a big cook. And Photonics as a whole is something I'm bullish on over the next 5-10 years. This falls under Photonics. And Photonics I like because it's using light, right? You need effective communication. You're talking AI, you're talking machinery. You need effective communication between them, right? Between data centers. Fiber optic cable was one of the earliest uses of this in a public setting, right? But Photonics is using light to transfer data instead of just your everyday wires, right? You can imagine that's much more. You're traveling at the speed of light. That's much quicker. It's much more efficient. And it over the long run, it's going to be it's also much more profitable because of those reasons. Which is why Axie was my Photonics play. There's more. We can go over other ones. We can do like a stock specific stream in the future where I go over everything. But another example of a Photonics stock, I've gone over this one before, is this, right? All of these are Photonics. So if I show you guys Lumentum Holdings, Photonics have been going. Yeah, it's here, right? Photonics have been going crazy. Look at this chart. Insane, right? That's on log, boys. Look at the linear chart. So I hope I've not missed out on something like this on XD, but it's what it is, right? You never know until it happens. So there's Coherent as well. Basically for now I'm going to call it a BTEC Lumentum, because Lumentum was the early mover. In terms of actually getting this impulse up, right? Coherent's older, way older, has more data. But again, bullish, right? Explosive moves up across them. AAOI, of course, this one, I'm so mad I wasn't looking at this back in 2021, 2022. Because, bro, this went from $1.52. This is basically I entered Injective at these prices, right? And Injective only went to what? This, I was gassed with that. I could have just got into AAOI, bro. And I would have, 10,000% returns. Insane, right? Obviously, it's very, very hard to be super early to a narrative, right? Very, very hard. And I'm not like a big fundamentals guy, so typically I'm not going to be the first to a narrative. Like, you know, like I said, the reason I got into AXD was because I saw everything else was popped, and I was like, okay, well, let's look into photonics, and then this looks good. And AXD was that niche also where we had the advantage of being the only company that mined indium phosphate at the time, so it's not a surprise we're getting a move up. But I'm hardly going to be the first person to ever find like a narrative. Most of the times I'm not. Like, I'll hear about it somewhere through people I trust or something like this, and then I'll look for a place. But yeah, photonics is one, right? Quantum computing, inflection, right? I told you guys this looked very, very good a few days ago. Got into this in the challenge account. The reason I got into this was the yearly levels, right? If I turn those on here, 12.82. That's the area where you manage your risk. Simple. You broke above, you have a deep crab, right? Sorry, you have a normal crab that hit, double bottom, right? Good sign, double bottom, rated the low with bullish divergence, and then you move up. Great. You don't. This is what I mean. You don't have to be in from the bottom every single time, and you don't look at a chart and just because you missed the bottom, you think, oh yeah, I'm gonna look for something else. Because above that, even though entry was better here, obviously, risk management was super easy here, right? After you had the confirmation that okay, people are interested in this stock. And then above that, obviously, we still call a 62% move, right? And now you've hit the shark, right? You've hit the 1.13, right? 1.618's been hit. So maybe what you get now is something like a bullish 5.0. And if the bullish 5.0 hits, guess what? Just get back in. 1, 2, 3, right? Let me just do this one sec. I just realized this low should be pinned to this one, which changes this a bit there. And so the bullish 5.0 would be this. There. So the 0.5 is right over here. So if you go to the 0.5 and you hit the bullish 5.0, right, and you start doing this, you start accumulative structuring around this area, then that's just the next area where we're interested in getting in, to try and run it towards maybe the 1.618. And if the bullish 5.0 doesn't hold, it fails, you slice right through, then it's whatever. You just look for your next area of interest, right? You don't set a limit. If you're trying to catch something falling, you make sure that your area is actually confirmed to be somewhere where buyers are interested in entering, and then you take the play. Right, but again, as long as you're above this zone now, super easy to manage risk. The exact same playbook as what happened down over here, right? As simple as that. So quantum is going to be another one, right? Quantum, there's a few quantum stocks here. There's RGTI. This one I remember actually drawing this potential bat on a while back, and then we literally hit that bat so nicely and had a move up. I'm not in RGTI. There's D-Wave Quantum, right? There's QBTS, there's IONQ. And IONQ had a nice move up. I was really, really hoping we'd get the 786. And obviously, it's not been invalidated yet. But what I failed to notice was this, right? The crab. I literally did the crab on today. I didn't notice it, and I was kicking myself because obviously, if I'd seen the crab correlating with the yearly, I would have taken that shot, right? But I was so focused on this that I completely missed this. But it's what it is. Like if we get a gap fill, we get a pullback to 35 and it holds, I'll just take a shot, RR based shot, right? I don't care that I didn't catch the bottom. And again, until that C point gets taken out, this can very well still be a godly, right? Very well still go down to the 786 off a lower high here or something. And there's QSI, right? Quantum Psi Incorporated. So these are all quantum plays. I think a few of them will be nice, a good narrative that will pick up over the next few years. So I'll be looking to get into some of that. Photonics, I mentioned. Semiconductors, obviously going to be another one. There's a lot of semiconductor stocks. We've got Pi, right? And this is one I actually wanted to go over with you guys because look how good this looks, right? Just look at the chart, firstly, on something like the monthly, the yearly even, right? Clearly uptrending, super, super clear uptrend. Then you look at it in the quarterly, very clear uptrend, beautiful uptrend. Look at it on the weekly, and just look where you are. Just massive demand line, and obviously I'm not pinned it exactly, but just rough. And where you are is a deep godly, right? There you go. There's your 591, which is within the allowed parameters, right? 786 is slightly higher. 786 is around here. 1.618 is here. We've hit that as well, right? We can see that. And if you go slightly deeper, it's going to be the 886, right? If you want to raid the entire range once more, maybe we would go to the 886. But you've hit a completed wave structure. So again, it's super easy to manage a long-term position here, right? Super, super easy. Like you just throw some yearlies on, throw some fibs on if that's what you prefer. Throw some diagonals on, and then go ham. But it's super easy to manage area here for Pi, right? Impinge. Amcor. Some of these have already moved, so I'm only showing them in case you ever get a pullback. But Amcor, sort of like what Axti did, if you were to get a pullback to this area right here, 46.69. Should we get a pullback on Amcor to 46.69, that would be the entry. Otherwise, if you want to take scalp to swing plays, what is very clear, you're trying to breach all-time highs and go into price discovery. Therefore, as long as you're above 65.31, you're fine to be in a position. Should you start losing and turning 65.31 into resistance, I shouldn't have to tell you guys, just get the hell out. Don't try to be a hero at all-time highs trying to top last, right? You're only above as long as the chart says, okay, well, buyers are still holding this as support. If it's not, just get out. But yeah, semiconductor plays, there's many that look good, right? This one is Skyworks, another one I'm looking at because this entire range has been flushed. Hope you guys realized that on the higher time frame. So if we ever go and reclaim these now, right, we get some sort of macro smiley face structure going somewhere around here. I'll be very interested to get into this. I've not even looked at wave structures or anything yet, right? Just looking at it on the basis of horizontals and this is what I mean by a cumulative structure, right? Look, you want higher time frame structure. You want something significant. You were sideways in this range for how long, right? Even if it's a count from the low. That is for 3,195 days, right? Obviously, stocks are way older than crypto, so it's harder to get these on crypto. But you can also put much more faith and trust in that structure. It's one of the reasons why I could get Axti, because people focus on the fact Axti popped, right? But you don't focus on the fact you had accumulation from 2003 all the way through to 2025. That's a 23 year accumulation structure, right? And then, you got the move up. So, obviously, I'm not saying we need a 23-year accumulation structure on crypto. Like, crypto's way younger. It's way quicker in terms of time frames. But even like a few months, right? Half a year, something like this. If you get that, that's much more significant than just a few weeks, right? In terms of accumulation. But yeah, that's AMSC. We'll go on crypto as well, guys. I just want to share some of these with you. Just put it on your radar. I'm not giving like strict technicals or anything because the chart stream would be too long if I did all of that today. But I can do those in private streams and also other streams. But again, super easy to manage risk here. If you wanted to get in, you would get in up until you lost that low. If you ever lost that low, you would just get out. And you don't have to get in. Obviously, that's a big range. So you wouldn't go all in right now unless you were with a position size that let you absorb a 50% move down, right? But if you want a DCA, start positioning slowly. Just get into something, right? And then your invalidation is if you lose that low. Like, this is something you can easily do, right? Again, that is a low from 2002. Turn into resistance. Vertical distribution to the downside. Opposite vertical accumulation. Retest of the vertical distribution to confirm it, right? And then you broke above and now it's support. Beautiful, right? So now you go to challenge these highs. These ones right here. You get above that, you have all of these gaps to fill. So there's a lot of opportunities here, guys, right? GFS, obviously, it's hard for me to give you an entry on a chart that is like this. For now, it's actually going to resistance, so I wouldn't even touch this. Unless you got a pullback to this, perhaps. There. If you did get a pullback towards that 47.69 area, that's where, well, there you go, right? You've had that already on the daily. Few days too late, unfortunately, for this one. But you can see that is the easiest entry, right? And this is, this is the first thing we do in core. The simplest form of entries that you have. You pull your stop loss below the retest wick low around your key area, and then you look for a risk to reward of 2.5 to 3, whatever you're happy with, right? For stocks, and then you just let the rest ride. Yeah, I wouldn't touch this one yet. On the higher time frame, you can still get a pullback because this is just now breaking out of this supply line, right? So in the future, we've seen this happen a lot: breakout, grind back down, and then reconfirm the supply line support, and then go up. Hopefully, this is something like this is what we get. That'd be insane, and that'd be a very good entry opportunity as well on GFS. But yeah, just keep an eye on it, guys, right? Because again, what we have here technically is a completed wave structure, or near completed wave structure. 854, 861. So not quite an 886 yet. A bit higher perhaps for this. But you'll have a completed bearish bat, right? And you might get the T1, the type 1, for example, in here, with 0.5 would give you that retest, and then maybe that's where you enter off of, right? But yeah, GFS, that's Gold Foundries Inc. There's Himex, semiconductors, right? All very interesting structure, just compressing, just going sideways, compressing. Completed M shapes, we can see those already forming here. In this case, it's not quite an 886, and I hate it when I have a 0.5 but no 886, because again, I'm not a user of non-traditional harmonics. I know many of you are. I personally don't. I'm just going to stick with what the Godfather himself made. There you go. But it's a completed M shape. You still correlated around the 786, so there's that. But more importantly, again, if you look at your levels, fairly easy to coordinate something here, right? So you have this very real level. You get above 1218, you base your entries around that. Otherwise, you base your entries around successful retests and holds of the 1042 area. Simple. Very simple, right? There's M phase, and this one I really like, because if you take a look at where it is, you've had a massive drawdown. You've had a massive pullback. It's a fairly new, in terms of being on Nasdaq anyway, it's a fairly new company. It hasn't caught up to the hype yet of the semiconductors, right? So this could be a lagger, right? And look where you are. You're at the yearly buy-seller zone, right? These are areas where we know is significant. We watch for price action here. And now, should this, for example, Smiley be validated? Come on. There you go. Should this Smiley get validated on the monthly, on the weekly? It's an easy entry. Like, you can literally try to base your positions now as we speak. And you can frame it multiple ways. The first way you could frame it is, again, around the Smiley. So as long as you don't violate that low for the Smiley, you don't close below the box, you can just start slowly buying in, right? Or buy in with 30%, 40%, 50%, whatever you're happy with, and cut it should we lose, for example, 28.46 or something like this. Second way is you could just wait until that high gets recaptured, right? You could wait until that happens. Third thing you could do is, just in case it hits, that's a 0.5. Wait for an 886, right? 886 to 2.618. And you could just literally put 20% here, 25%, put a bit more should the 86 2.618 hit, put a bit more when the recapture happens. Like, you don't have to enter all at once, right? Typically, I only enter all at once if I'm scalping or if I'm doing a CFD position. And if I'm doing a CFD position, it's because I enter with a strict, invalidation, so on and so forth. If you're entering just spot, then you can be free as you want with the entry. There's no rule, right? The only rule is you preserve your capital. Whatever helps you do that. But keep an eye on it, because this could be a lagger. This could be a big lagger, right? We could go up and finally take some liquidity back to the upside on this. You've retested a very important area. That's M phase energy, ENPH. And again, I'm not even looking at bigger structures on this local. Obviously, we have soy. Rai put this on our radar. I am not in soy tech, okay? I waited for a particular entry. I didn't get it. And by the time I checked back to the charts again, we've got this big fuck you candles. I'm not entering on big fuck you candles. I will get another entry to enter. I will get another chance to enter this. But another reason I'm not entering right now is because I'm not top blasting something that's completed in ABCDs, right? 382, 2.24, 2.618. We've hit as far as the 3.14. And if it wants to, we can go as high as the 3.618, which lines up with terminal 1 of our actual wave structure, right? Terminal 1 is right over here. There's your M shape, right? Terminal 1 is right over there. This is a beautiful M shape. And the reason I'm not really that stressed right now is because, cool, right? Either this flips terminal 1 and I will play this all the way up to the 618. I will still make money because I've got size, right? So even if it's only a 50% move, I'm still going to be making decent size on it. Or what I hope happens, and I have fingers crossed, right? Everything crossed. I hope we get a type 2 return. If we get a type 2 return on this structure, it is going to be the most insane stock chart there is, in my opinion. Because, if this is a multi-year structure like we believe, which 2017 is when this wave structure started, right? Concluded 2025. 8 years. I would hate for them to just give us a type 1 reaction to take it all the way up to like 1.618. That would be abysmal of them. So I really hope we get a type 2 return. I don't care if we don't get a double bottom, right? Just give us something. Give us a Gartley to another area. Give us a higher low pullback somewhere, right? Something substantial. We haven't had anything substantial in terms of a higher low. We just haven't, right? That 382 is good, but when I was looking at it live, it wasn't good enough, right? In hindsight, it's good, but that's hindsight. In hindsight, everything looks good. Live, that just wasn't looking good enough for me to put size in this, right? But that, if we do get a type 2, oh my days, you can bet I will put so much into Soitec. And the crazy thing is, this isn't listed on NASDAQ. I'm sure Soy isn't listed on NASDAQ. Unless I'm mistaken, the American liquidity isn't even in this. It's only Euronext Paris and that's literally it, bro. Soitec and then SA. I'm not sure where that's from, but not much, right? If this gets listed in the NASDAQ, bro, it flies. So what I'm hoping is we get a type 2, and somewhere upon the conclusion of the type 2 is when this gets listed on the NASDAQ. That would be insane. Obviously, that's my ideal scenario, right? It might not happen. It might get listed tomorrow. Who knows? It might not give us a type 2 return. But if it doesn't, I'll frame entries around strength coming in, sellers getting trapped, buys being rewarded, aggressive buys being rewarded, resistance is being flipped to support around the T1. Simple, right? I just refuse to take a play after I missed the actual play, which was the 382, right? In hindsight, that's an easy play to take, but when I was looking at this live, there just wasn't enough things lining up there for me to enter, right? So it's what it is. So if this flips, I'll enter. Otherwise, I'll pray for a type 2 at some point. But Soitec looks insane still. Beautiful chart. Just look at the correlation. Insane correlation on this one. There is ASML. Yeah, I wouldn't touch this. It looks good. You get into it if it retests some key levels, maybe 826 or something, and you want a high cap. Otherwise, there's no point touching this. There's no risk management here, so let's move on. Same thing with Marvel. The last entry was this one right here. In fact, I believe this is something we were looking at. We were saying if you flip 2025 12-month buys on high to support, that's when you look to get in. Was what we were discussing last time, right? Which is right over here. But yeah, that retest to the all-time highs, so on and so forth, that's happened. So there's Astera Labs. This is something. Who was it? This was Sol. Yeah, Sol put this on my radar. I'm still. I don't know if it's greedy of me, but I still hope for that 886. It's a Gartley, right? It's a 618. It would be a legendary Gartley if they gave this to us. So let me pin it to the high. It's this one, 467. 609. Honestly, that 786 hasn't been hit yeah. Like, I hate it when they do this. Like, it's the front run of all front runs, right? But I do hope they give us the 786 to the 886 properly. Like, one more raid to the lows. Stop at anyone that got in here, didn't take profits, right? And then after that, a bit of accumulation before going higher would be insane. But that's A-Lab. And then there is this one. This one I like the look of simply because of where it's at. The chart itself looks nowhere near as good as any of the other ones we've looked at. But what I'm saying is, if you're talking risk management, right? For example, on the daily, if you get any sort of pullback to either 0.5347 or you start flipping this into support, it's super, super easy to manage risk, right? And on the higher time frame, if you look at where we are, well, all you need to do is recapture that. If you recapture 0.072 cents, this flies. There's 98% to your next target, and realistically, if you're going to take liquidity, I'd anticipate something like this. So it's a potential, 276% move. But that's cap. Right, so semiconductors, some medicals, some space stocks as well because of, SpaceX and stuff. Again, that's something else I want to talk about as well. But let's quickly look at some space stocks. Thanks, brother. Shoot. One sec, guys. Yeah, Intel's moving crazy. Intel moved crazy. There were some massive M shapes on Intel as well. But one sec. Let me look at this first, and I'll answer any questions. One thing I'm looking at is Redwire Corporation. With the SpaceX, I think going into SpaceX IPO, I think all space stocks are just going to absolutely boom. It's going to be like almost like a rising tide lifts all ships kind of thing. Number one, okay, before I even get into space stocks, I will not be participating in the space stock IPO. Right, listen, 1.5 trillion valuation is dog shit. I don't know where they got that from. It is completely crazy. Number two, typically retail only gets allocated somewhere between 2.5 to like 5%, or maybe max 10%, if I'm not mistaken, right? Max 10% for like IPOs, right? SpaceX is allocating 30% to retail. Now, do you think they're doing that out of the kindness of their hearts? And just ask yourself, do you think all these big banks and the Jews got together and they decided, you know what, let's be nice to these people, let's give them a 30% allocation so everyone can retire? Hell no, bro. They're doing that so that retail can come in. They have all this supply that they're hoping retail buys up, and guess what? It's going to be the most hype IPO there is. Of course, retail is going to flock in, right? And once retail is buying into 30% of that, all the other people who hold majority of it are going to be selling. I am so confident this is how it's going to play out, right? Anyone, retail, who's trying to, quote unquote, make money off the SpaceX IPO thinking they're early, they're going to get burned, right? So again, everyone knows how I'm going around this. I have got Destiny Tech Inc. For now, I've only put 25,000 in, and once the chart starts flipping some resistance into support, I'll add more size. But these already have allocations, certain allocations to SpaceX, certain allocations to, in this case, they have allocation to Discord, they have allocation to OpenAI, they have allocation to Anthropic, which is the one that made Claude, right? Some big names in there, right? So for that reason, Destiny Tech is my pivot around this. I'm not going to be trying to buy SpaceX IPO itself. I'm just going to hold this underlying stock, which looks very, very good, right? From a technical perspective, it looks good. And I will sell this into the hype, right? Straight up. I don't want to be holding it. And I will rebuy it once it comes below again, because, if I don't want to buy the Discord IPO on its own, if it looks shit, so on and so forth, I can just do it through this, right? But SpaceX is their biggest by far, I'm pretty sure. So, which is why I'm in this instead. But yeah, no, SpaceX is going up because of, Elon's announcing, like, moving everything to low orbit and to the moon and shit, right? To do, like, data center mining and stuff. So, of course, SpaceX, space stocks are loving it. Luna, and we'll look at all of these properly another time, but there's Lockheed Martin. This benefits from it indirectly, so which is why they had a big pump too. This is the one I'm interested in, Redwire, simply because it's still manageable somewhat, right? And it hasn't really moved up yet. There's Saidu. This one I give you guys as a low cap stock. It's had a nice move from the actual entry trigger, which once you get above and you successfully retest this as support, that was right over here. Flat bottom to that is a 74% move. There is Planet Labs, right? But some of them, like I said, already moved. There's not much value to be gained from buying here, right? But just some stocks to keep in your watch list. There is AST Space Mobile, right? This actually looks pretty distributive, locally speaking, so I wouldn't touch this for now. Let's see how this one develops. And then there's Rocket Labs, right? Again, insane move up. Trying to get past previous all-time high of 2025. So again, as long as you're above 2025 high, like, this is going to keep trying to put new highs in. Like, $100 is calling for RKLB. But yeah, some space, some quantum, some photonics, some semiconductors, and some medicals as well have. There's a lot of medicals that look good, like Tandem. Like, I don't need to keep saying it. Tandem looks insane. Right, look where you are. Easily manageable, right? Tandem. CRISPR, I hope the guard is hit, but if not, there's easy areas to manage risk around. Even if you buy this, once the high is flipped, you're still going to get a nice move off it, okay? But there's a lot. And we can talk about this another time. I don't want to make the stream too long, right? We can go deeper into just stocks another time. But yeah, Clove, nice move up off that low that we marked, right? Again, I hope even the 786 on its own, I hope it gets tapped. But for now, it's our resistance. So let's see what happens. And HIMS, right? I think HIMS will be a very, very good bid. It's hit the area I was interested in. It's got a partial fill of the gap, which is good. But I just need a bit more structure before I really put like a lot of size into this, right? We're at resistance at the end of the day. But yeah, there's a lot. NVO, this one I should mention because of where we are. if you're looking at a medical stock, buy a seller zone on the yearly, and you've hit the mid of that, you bounce pretty much tick perfect from that low. So if this gap, once this, I'm just eyeing this gap fill. Once this gap fill is done with, I want to see if it's going to come back down after taking all that supply, or if it flips into support. If it flips into support, this will be a nice area to try and get into it here. It just doesn't make sense trying to buy into something that's going for a gap fill, right? So that flip of the lows would be nice. Maybe you get hit with one of these, right? Accumulation, manipulation, distribution. So that'd be nice to look into. It would give you a clean 2x in my opinion if the distribution phase came. So, but yeah, that's some of them. There's a lot, right? So many opportunities basically is what I'm trying to say here. There's a lot, and there's just some of them, right? You know, you can look at finance, right? Root 886 tagged, right? If you reclaim that into support, reclaim this yearly into support, Root's at an insane area to take some bids, right? There's SoFi. We talked about this one. It's not hit its targets yet. I would love for that target to get hit, so I'm not interested in getting SoFi currently, just because there's no edge for me here. I prefer Root over SoFi, but you know, Roots have resistance as well, so you try to structure an entry around this area, right? You need some more structure to come in. But you know, there's opportunities everywhere, right? Just because you missed one doesn't mean, you know, the market's done now. There's everywhere you look, there's going to be opportunities. Whether it's overhead companies like, you know, Mosaic, there's newer companies. There's going to be opportunities everywhere. So just, you know, just keep an eye out on them, I suppose. That's another one I was looking at. Path. The reason I like it is simply because of where you are. It doesn't get more risk, or rather easy to manage risk than this, right? It doesn't. Looks like a shark, to be honest. One sec. I don't know if it is, but it could be. Could very well be a shark. No, not yet. It needs to be 1.618. But the 86 has been hit, so could very well be a shark, right? Let me shape. But just look at some of these charts. Look at where you are. Look how easy it is to manage risk. The only thing you have to do is understand what your invalidation is. Understand how much, you know, if you're going to just buy and forget, understand how much you lose should invalidation hit. And lastly, not overthink it. You could enter, it could come back down, it could chop. The worst thing you want to do is try to overmanage your position on swing trades, right? But there's lots of opportunities, guys. That's just some of them. So yeah, well that's some things from the stock side anyway. Let's go back to the chat ones. Let's take a look. Yeah, Intel was crazy. Intel had a insane chart. If there was like back-to-back harmonics on that one as well. Did this BDC hit it? Nice. We'll take a look, bro. But yeah, even in terms of stocks, bro, there's so much, right? There's so much. So everything I got from XT, I'm just gonna sit on it for now until I see another opportunity. A portion of that I'm gonna use just to scalp still, right? Because it's running all-time highs, right? And should that 5.0 hit, I would definitely look to get back in. That's on INFQ. So I'll be INFQ and XT are the two stocks I'll be really paying attention to, just to scalp and for a longer term basis as well. That's more inflection though for a longer term basis. INFQ right over here. Where's it gone? Oh, let's not forget UPS. UPS looks insane. Looks amazing, right? There's a cumulative structure right there. You've broken your downtrend. Last lower high, that letter low got taken out. High low has been put in. There's your smiley face. All you need to do, like I said, as long as you're above that, it's so easy to manage your risk, right? We literally planned this ever since this low came in. So UPS, now you just buy and hold. Yes, you're at resistance right now. You wouldn't buy yet. But even if you buy here, it does not matter. Because understand, you're trying to break out of multi-year, right, structures. Like, you always have more time than you think. So don't give up just because you missed, like, this entry or whatever, right? You know, you break out of here, you start flipping this into support. In the future, it's going to be even better of an entry. So, but yeah, let's take a look. INFQ. I really hope that 5.0 hits. I'm praying. I will have so many alerts later in this area. I don't care if I get no sleep. I will catch the reaction on this if it's a beautiful reaction. Yeah, let me just do something autistic. Just stagger some alerts. My partner's gonna hate me. I will wake up all day, every day. There we go. if that 5-0 hits and it raid to reclaims, this will be an insane entry on IFQ for continuation to the upside. But okay, let's look at some cryptos next. So Bitcoin first. DXYZ, is DXYZ Destiny Inc? I forget. One sec. If it is, I went over it. If it's not, we can look at it. One sec. IPOs. Yeah, I think I went over this, brother. Yeah. Yeah, this is, I've got 25k in this right now. I will throw another 25k on for a 50k total position size if we flip this into support, and then I'll just manage it from there, right? But like I said, I'm not playing into the SpaceX IPO. That is such a big retail trap. Anyone with experience with IPOs, you should be able to smell that from a mile off. That is going to be such a big, retail is going to get burned so hard. And obviously I know we're retail. I'm talking about the people who they don't really know what they're doing, right? Do you know how much hype, bro? I've got all my normie friends asking me how to get into SpaceX IPO, so on and so forth. And I'm like, bro, have you done any sort of even basic research? Because you should understand 30% to retail, that is insane for an IPO. They're going to hype it up. Retail's going to flock in and they're just going to dump on them. 1.7 to 1.5 trillion valuation. Where do you get that from, right? Insane, bro. Just putting numbers out their ass. Okay, anyway, BTC, let's take a look. This. Dude, you see, we hit the buy seller zone. This is the weekly one I've been eyeing up, right? That right there. Area where both buyers and sellers were active. Therefore, I'm considering the whole area. And whichever side ultimately, shows control of most particularly the mid is going to dictate, okay, do you impulse higher? Or you're going to reject here, distribute, and go back down lower again, right? So let's keep an eye on it. For now, if you were to really zoom in on Bitcoin, there's a tug of war going on, and there's no clear winner yet. For now, if you really zooming in, buyers try to get above, and they fail to do so, right? Below 77,444, you're looking for scalps down towards 76, 75. You get above this, just get out of your scalp shorts. You're looking for scalp longs up towards 79 even, right? 79 all the way up towards 80, in my opinion. So it's very easy to manage your risk around 77,444.83, right? That's on the crypto chart. It's going to be slight deviations of the number depending on what exchange you're using. But for that reason, we're just going to look at this. And this right here is I'm going to call it the God chart in terms of wave structure. I put down pretty much everything I can see in terms of wave structure, right? So I'm just going to share it with you guys here. I've added a few more since I put it in the Bitcoin chart last. So if you go over here, there you go. This right here is the current target, right? Because we know people always misunderstand when I share these charts. When I put these down, I'm not saying, right? For those of you who know harmonics, know what this means, right? But for people who aren't really used to harmonics, they think that I'm predicting we're going to go down to 26k. That's not what this chart is for, right? And for those of you that haven't done the harmonic session of core yet, understand that's not what this is for. I'm simply putting down areas where particular wave structures are going to complete. Okay, this is all based off of Fibonacci. For the Gartley, which is the first wave structure that we have, right? Which is why I've marked everything out individually. If you turn everything off, the first ratio for the Gartley is the 786. So in terms of completed wave structures, the only thing that's been validated is the 786. And if you guys look back at crypto chat, that's the whole reason I said, as long as you guys are above the 786, you're prioritizing longs, not shorts, right? I said this a couple of weeks back. So as long as you're above the 786, you're prioritizing longs, right? And the reason for that is because this is the only completed and confirmed wave structure right now, because that's the only one that's been hit. The Deep Gartley 886 has not been hit. The 2.618 has not been hit. So yes, these become target. And if you sustain below 786, this will be the next area that you gravitate towards. But until price goes there and price action validates, right? You want to see, you want price to go there, and then you want buyers holding. It doesn't matter if you go there and buyers just aren't active. If supply overwhelms demand, if no one is paying attention to this area, it's just lines on a chart, right? But these are areas where you would expect, you're outlining areas where you expect the market activity to come in, right? So below 786, it was always 57,757 to 52,399. But as long as you stay above the 786, which is what we've done, the current type 1 test is 85,294. That's T1. So do not be surprised if you get there. Okay. In fact, don't be surprised at all, because I think what would be lovely is again, always think in terms of consolidation ranges. Just go and turn the consolidation range mid into resistance. You could not ask for more than that if you want a really good short entry on Bitcoin, because that would confirm the downtrend continues, right? If you were to top out there and distribute around here. Number two, you've confirmed that this area where both, again, buyers and sellers were struggling is now firmly in control of the sellers, which further adds to the downside narrative, not the upside, right? And number three, it's a very, very logical area for you to even consider technically a short, right? It's a draw on liquidity. It's the mid of the consolidation, right? Why are we bouncing here? We went to the mid of a consolidation, right? So, historical data has been accumulated here, right? So, yes, we've got that weekly there. If we can't even get above that, forget about hitting the 382. But I do think we have one more impulse up towards that at some point, right? Which is why the T1 and the T2 is there. So in that regard, if I was to go ahead and if I go back to this chart here, not even that one. Which one is it? I'll go to this chart here. So there's some yearly levels as well. Aside from the factor of the 786, we know we've got yearly levels there too, right? We have 2024 yearly levels. We have 2021 all-time high. All of those held. But this weekly is what I'm interested in, right? If this flips into support right here, you have easy scalp longs, right? Scalp longs towards, number one, 81K. After that, just run it straight to the consolidation mid. You're going to get that 85 to 87K area, in my opinion, right? But that's all going to be determined by ultimately which side takes control of that mid area right over here. That's where we've gone and sort of stalled for now. But I'm going to go ahead and put this chart. So number one, hang on. So that's the Gartley. We've got the deep Gartley, slightly deeper as well. Then there is the deep crab, right? So there's the 886, and then the first target is of course the main target is the 1.618, right? Which is right over here at 42,552. We've got the 3.14 extension at 43,380. Why is this number important? It's pi, right? It's a universal number. And then we've got the 3.618 extension at 35,011. And then for you guys who are not aware, the 1.902, that is the hop level of the deep crab, right? If things get really, really hairy, that'd be 27K. But again, that is like, I don't know, maybe America is dropping nukes in Japan again kind of scenario, right? Because unless that happens, I don't see why we'll just drop to 27K straight away. We're going to get, fluctuations. It's not going to be like a death drop to 27K, right? So there's the deep crab. So multiple wave structures. We looked at the Gartley. We looked at the deep crab, right? We have the shark. This one I actually missed. And then I was on a stream with Ponzi earlier in the afternoon. And then he mentioned this one. And I was like, oh shit, that's really, really nice. So there's a shark right here, 1.618, 1.13, right? That's 42,551 to 41,120. So in terms of confluence, we already have a really nice area building up, right? Multiple different extensions, multiple different pools, all lining up towards the same area. That's what confluence is, right? So this would be, and I'm not saying that, okay, we're going to bottom here, but I'm saying if we went here, I would expect there for sure to be some sort of reaction, some sort of bias around this area, right? So there's the shark right there. And of course, again, if she gets really, really bad, we've got the deep, really, really deep shark at the 886. But just forget about the 27, 26K targets for now, because as you can see, we've got loads of other targets we have to invalidate before even considering these ones, right? I'm just putting these on because for now, all of them are valid as potential ideas. And last but not least, of course, we've got the ABCDs, right? A, B, C, there's the 382. So the 2.24, which hasn't been hit, it's been front run. There's the 2.618 at 52,339. There's the 3.14 at 43,321. And again, the 3.618 at 35,01. And again, for those of you wondering why I love these so much, don't forget how powerful these structures are, right? If I was to show you guys the Binance chart, which chart was it that I had all of these on? One sec. Is it the crypto chart? Must be this one. One second, guys. Yes, here. Don't forget how accurate these are, right? If you look back, the structure 2021 to the all-time high at 2021, right? So the 2021 run up basically 0.5, 2.0, right? Yes, you exceeded it a bit, but the SFB happened around that 2.0. The low, right? This one I've shared with you guys so many times. The low ABCD, right? Your first target of the 382 extension is the 2.24. That was the bottom area, right? For the Bitcoin macro bottom. And again, the first consolidation range we went within 382 to the whole extension, right? The extensions are the 2.24, the 2.618, the 3.14, and the 3.618. That's in order right there on the blue lines. In fact, that's the whole range you retested, even now, right, in this dump. And then, of course, the macro top. This one, as soon as that C came in, this one I shared in 2024, right? We were saying, look, we're not going to get to 180K, 200K Bitcoin. It's not going to happen this cycle. It's going to be somewhere around this. Especially for the blow off top, I was saying it's going to be somewhere around 109. 101 to 109, and if you get above that, somewhere between 121 to 132. We got above the first zone, so the second zone is where we got the blow off top, right there, right, the 121, 132. Bearish divergence, bearish divergence, bearish divergence, which is why, even though I didn't get you guys out of the market at the Pico top, I don't care. I got you guys out of the market as soon as the structure shifted on the lower time frame. We turned this 109K area back into resistance. We closed out the challenge account. We closed out everything when cash heavy right at this area, right? Because that was always the target. All you need then is structure to confirm it. And that is when structure confirmed, okay, yeah, we look like we're going to shit the bed, right? So, these are very, very powerful. You just have to give time for structure to form around them, right? So for that very same reason, until that C point gets invalidated, these ABCDs are valid targets to keep an eye on, right? So with that, you turn everything on and you have all of these areas. So hopefully it's not as confusing when I show it this way, right? Because now where everything comes from. You're simply interested in just level to level. As long as the 786 holds, we went long for that reason, right? That was the first wave structure completion. If that's lost, your next area is going to be 58 to 57, 58,974 to 57,757, which will also coincide as a liquidity rate to that wick of February 2026, right? If you lose that, you're talking 52,399, right? Somewhere around this region. If you lose that, you just look a bit deeper. You're going to go towards 43, 42.5, whatever. If you lose that, this, right? And ultimately, what's going to happen is once you get to a certain area, there's going to be a point where you're going to be like, okay, well, for example, if you go to here and you're like, okay, we're 70, 80% discounted, you're going to end up buying some spot. You should, right? No matter if you think it's going to go lower, you should buy some spot for the long term. For your long term pool, you're not going to fuck with that areas, deep discounts like this. But you simply just analyze what goes on between the buyers and the sellers. I don't care if you do on the lower time frame or simply stick with the higher time frame. If you want to scalp, do it on the lower time frame, and then carry that thesis on in confluence with the higher time frame thesis. But these are simply areas where when price gets there, I get interested. If it's not there, I wait until one of these gets hit, right? It's as simple as that. I'm not interested in what happens in between because I want to grab a position at the actual areas, right? Rate to reclaim, so on and so forth for swings. So this right now is as it stands, this is the chart in terms of wave structure. So I'm just going to go and share it right over here. Yo, Alex, bro, how you doing, man? Nice to see you in here, bro. Love for that, brother. Appreciate you, man. Anytime, bro. Yeah, Enf looks good, bro. It looks very, very good. We look at Dixie too, bro. Yeah, we look at Dixie. One sec. But that's Bitcoin. I think Ethereum looks good too. ETH looks better than Bitcoin. It did. And one thing I like about ETH is if you're comparing it relatively, right? This is the exact same area where Bitcoin is. Bitcoin is struggling at the mid of this. ETH is blasted above already. So ETH, even clearer. This is what you want to see on Bitcoin if you want to scalp long, right? The mid, very clearly under buyer control. This is an area where both buyers and sellers are active. The tug of war is going to happen here. And buyers won out over here. You can look at footprint charts. You can look at anything you want. Buyers' aggressive selling was not rewarded here. Right, so above this now, you've got this final bit of resistance to deal with for ETH. And after that, you're going to start filling some gaps. So you get above that. You look at the mid of this. Look at the mid of this. Look at the mid of these. Like all of these become targets for Ethereum. And the beautiful thing is, you go up here, you're still going to be bearish. Like there's a lot of work to be done. So, you in my opinion, you've not missed like some sort of forever bottom or anything like this. Not yet, right? And again, don't forget, Ethereum has also completed a wave structure. This one I've already shared again, but it is a completed bat. The 886 is here. So if we're going to go with the 886, and again, type 2s always add weight to your wave structure, right? You want type 2 returns. There you go. You're looking at somewhere around, you won't be surprised by 2,900 to 3,000 Ethereum if you can get above 2,475, right? Somewhere around here. this range. There's your front run, there's your liquidity rate. Anything in between is fair game, basically. And it would still put a lower high in. And then, if you went there and then you put a type 2, and the type 2 also held this area, then you would think, okay, right, maybe this isn't actually going to go down towards the 1000s quite yet. Maybe this gives us a slightly higher move before we collapse, right? But until that happens, we don't have enough structure to warrant looking at this yet. So all you can do for now is play 2T1 and then see what kind of structure develops once we get to that area. But yeah, BTC, ETH, there you go. Now this one I have to point out to you guys because, like I said, above $1, which is the exchange listing low for on MEXC anyways, the exchange listing low for Aptos, you've got a very easy to manage opportunity right over here, right? So if I go to Aptos on MEXC, and of course you can look at it on more high. In fact, let me quickly check something. One sec. So you have 564,960 volume on MEXC. What about on Binance? Okay, I look at Coinbase, I look at Binance, and then go USDT. Of course, this has way more volume. I don't know why this one isn't showing anything, but let's get rid of that. So I'm just going to do this analysis on this just because there's more volume, right? Coinbase. So let me just drag this up next to Aptos over here. There. Okay. So we're interested in this particular level right over here because I'm pretty sure Binance does not have that exchange listing low, does it? One sec. Oh, it might. I might be mistaken. Yeah, there we go. It's $1, right? Okay, Binance has it, so we'll just stick with Binance then. Actually, if you look at Binance, it's pretty much 0. Immeasurable units above. So if you look at 1 hour, this is what I'm interested in. So let's analyze what kind of reaction we're getting in this area. So I need to drop this setting to, just to be on the safe side, I'll drop it to 1,000. Then we'll go to Aptos on Binance, and then we'll take it to the 1 hour first. Let me just do this. Expect very, very small candles, so I should get away with a tick here. There we go. What I'm interested in is what kind of structure. Do we have a scalp opportunity to the upside on Aptos? That's it, right? So we've got a very clear range to begin with, and we're trying to deviate away from that range, but the range on this is very much just this, right? There's your range. You're not above your range highs yet. And you can treat it as this, but I think this one's better. Yeah, that's better there. S&P, right? But the most important thing here is, of course, that $1 level. It's exchange listing low. So if this is consolidation underneath resistance, then we're looking for signs of strength here for aggressive sellers to come in not being rewarded to try and catch that quick pop up to the upside, right? The problem with that right now is, locally speaking, we've tried many times and failed. Have we got anything on the monthly I can use? Got a seller zone. What about the 3 months? There's your last quarterly close. There's your 4-month buyer zone here. So the high time frame, your target would be 120, right? Based on your last high time frame close. No, sorry, that's not the last. It's 3 months is your last high time frame close right here. Let me turn that off for now. It should be fairly similar anyhow. That's your last high time frame close right there. So what I'll do is I'll leave the last high time frame close in white, and I'll leave the quarterly close, last quarterly triennial close, sorry, in yellow. There we go. And so should you maintain above this area, eventually I would simply be eyeing these for a move up. Like you've tried multiple times, you've failed, right? You can just go and put yourself in a just bigger range right here like this. There you go. Tried multiple times and failed. But eventually these will get taken. I think this will get taken. I think these will get taken as well. And this is local, of course. Like if you zoom out, it sounds ridiculous because obviously, like, you know, we're down pretty much at all-time lows, right? But I'm talking on a lower time frame opportunity basis here. So judging from where we are, we're above the mid of the range, right? If we're above the mid, we know we're going to gravitate towards the high of the range, right? Range trading, I love range trading for that very simple reason. As long as you're above the mid of the range, you're going to gravitate towards the high of the range, right? You don't think about that low again until you lose that mid, right? So above this, now we simply want to see what kind of price action are we getting around that one. On the hourly, for example, if you take a look, we have aggressive selling going on, loads of aggressive selling going on, not being rewarded, right? Aggressive selling going on, not being rewarded. Let's look at 4 hours. We have one close above. We have a seller zone here. We just need to break above that. I don't know. This looks like it wants to go. This gets taken. These are all liquidity to be taken to the upside. So you have 1 point of control at, what's that? That's 1.012. Hardly a difference, right? But you get over 1.012, I think this thing's ready to have a nice little pop-up. Aptos. So all in all, 1 hour. If you enter here, invalidation is simple. You lose that point of control cluster here, you get out on Aptos. Okay, you see these point of control clusters here. You lose that, you get out. But as long as you're above that, I think I would try for a long. And this is based off not because, you know, I think again that's definitely going to go up, but because just looking at the price action we've had locally speaking at the area, if you're going to go for a liquidity raid, they're going to raid all of these point of controls, right? So you're going to drop, like, you know, all the way down towards 98 cents again. So it's very, very easy to manage your risk above 100 and this area right over here, like super easy. And if you do happen to catch the moment of, if this is the moment of breakout, it might not be, you might fall back within the range again. If you fall back within the range, who cares? You just get a better area in the future. Because if you go to range mid, that's where you try. If not, you will go to range lows. And if you go to these range lows to take this liquidity out, my bet is you'd probably coincide around the actual huge range mid. And that's an even better area to try and take along, right? Simply because it's range mid. So, but Aptos is an area where you can try and manage your risk for a scalp long. And your invalidation is so easy. Like it's you risk not losing much at all, right? Like this point of control cluster. Let's say maximum 1% drawdown. That's what you're eyeing here. So you manage your risk around a 1% drawdown. You're leveraging your position size. Let's take a look. But there's a few, like, you know, even olds, like a few of them are very nice places. We've looked at AKT before. In fact, let me switch over to this for this one. Right, massive M-shaped completion. Like for higher time frame entries, for like planning, even like for planning partial spot buys, like all of these are very good areas, right? So let me just spitfire some. There's AKT. Hype, obviously, I'm not going to be buying spot hype here for very obvious reasons, right? I would rather park my money in something else. This is for trading for me, right? Because it's uptrending. So any pullback to key areas should, like areas like this, right? If a yearly level's holding, it's easier to look up for longs at those areas. I'm not going to buy spot at this area. But if you get a bigger drop in the future, I will for hype. We've looked at Aptos. Tau, obviously, right? I do want to pull back on Tau before I long. I don't think the move up's done yet, to be honest. But if you look at the 4 hours on Tau, is this a 618? I'm mean, it's very close to a 618. So yeah, maybe I move into some of these fair value gaps here, like this, for example. One sec. I'm just trying to plant some ideas, guys. But if I look at the daily, do we have any daily fair value gaps? We do. That would be, if we're going to move into that, that'd be nice. Here. Somewhere around there. I mean, that one would be a bit, it's a bit too shallow. It could work, could still work, but I'd prefer if we went a bit higher. And then you came back for like a 786, 886. Like, let's say a 786. Like these lows is where I would want a really, really nice long on Tau. Because just look where you can just see the confluence here. But this one, like I said, Tau is one of my bigger bags on the higher time frame. So, spot bags. It's a weird way to say it. Tau is one of my spot bags. But in terms of, so one sec, we have key inflection. We have historical price range down there. Historical price range here. Your next historical price range would be this. I'm just going to draw it down. It's tiny, but I want to draw it down. Then it would be this. Your break above that is when you get your final range, which is this. So those are the 5 ranges I'd be eyeing up. And in terms of ranges, like, I don't want to be long on something that's just below a range resistance. Right? We know how this works. If you stay below this range, we can't be surprised if you visit range lows again. If you get above it, we can't be surprised if you visit range highs. In fact, you can just think of this as like a key inflection area right over here. That's a completely valid key inflection area. So I hesitate to go long here simply for that reason, right? I don't want to be long on something that's just below such pivotal area on the chart. Resistance, chop, support, resistance, support, vertical distribution, resistance. So just below that, I'm not longing, right? But if you do get a move up towards this zone, fill some of those lower time frame, daily, 4-hour fair value gaps, I would 100% look for short opportunities on this. And then you either long the flip of the mid, or you long when the mid is lost and the range lows gets visited one more time. Either way, it's going to be a good entry on Tau, right? Either way. But in terms of this, I mean, this thing's just putting up 618s all over the place. That is technically a 618 drop, right? But let's say that's not the low, and we come down even for an 886 ultimately. Would be nice. Or even a 786. You know what? Let's do it fair. Let's put it in the middle. 786. You would have a Gartley at 786 here. So again, beautiful area to take a bigger short, right? So let's say if you do want, like me, if you're like me and you're greedy and you want Tau down at double digits, which, you know, I would sink a lot of money into Tau if we went towards range mid there. And the mid of that range also, it coincides with, of course, that fair value gap from 2023. Right of it. That'd be an insane fill, which has confluence with the, you know, resistance support. Could you ask for a better place to short it than there? Because if you now look at it in terms of price action, if this were to hit 786 to 886, it is pretty much describing distributive structure to you to the T, right? Because there is your range. So there's initial resistance. You've had your radar on liquidity. You would simply have a reconfirmation of resistance, and that is distributive Wyckoff to the downside, right? And then you look to enter once those lows got taken. I hope something like this happens, because, and I'm greedy, and Tau down here would be lovely. But even if it doesn't, right? Even if it doesn't, you know, invalidation is clear. If you blast past this and you flip this into support, then, you know, you don't have to wait. You just, that'd be invalidation for, okay, we're going to go down over here. Because if this holds, then you're looking simply for the next range, right? That's why I drew these ranges for you guys, so it's easy to see where you are. But yeah, something like this on TAO would be insane. So, like I said, my port's going to be very, very focused for this cycle. I'm going to be having less stuff and just more size into those stuff. So I'll have a few photonic stocks. I'll have a few semiconductor stocks. I'll have a few medical stocks, maybe 1 or 2 medical stocks, and also I will have semiconductors, photonic, and quantum. Right, that's the other one. Some space, some quantum, like, 1 from space, 1 from quantum, 1 from photonics, 1 from semiconductors, 1 from medical. You'll be fine. Right? Maybe 1 from finance. Just cover the big sectors. And then for crypto, obviously, it's going to be BTC. And the size of how much BTC I buy depends entirely on how deep we go. But there's going to be BTC. There's going to be ETH. Right? That's just that's going to happen. Then it'll be just some it'll be like things like Aave. I think Aave will do well. I think TAO will do well. So those two are there. If Hype gives us a big enough discount, I'll get some Hype. Otherwise, I won't. It's what it is. And then just a couple more, right? Alts, just a couple more alts. Some FET maybe. Something just in case like AI pops off again, some FET. If they release a crypto linked with, Quantum. I don't know if there is a crypto linked with Quantum, but if there is some that's released, maybe like a crypto to go with that narrative. And then just some cash on the side to fuck around with during the actual cycle. New projects like, take some leverage plays, so on and so forth, right? But majority is going to be in spot, so it's just those. Let's take a look. This is another one I wanted to put to your guys' radar. This is a stock, Pareka. Just look at the chart. It's beaten up. But it's broken out of. Firstly, it's like downtrending supply lines, right? There's no physical way you can draw a supply line with this anymore unless you go literally to the local peak. And on log, you're very, very close. Like Reka is very, very close to a breakout in my opinion. It might take a little bit longer, but by 2027, by mid 2027, I'd be very surprised if this thing wasn't like towards $2 or higher. That chart is insane. Until that low is broken, like you just got to take a shot at moments like this, right? So Reka's a stock to put on your guys' radar. Right, let's look at some cryptos. There was H. This one is already having a nice move. I was looking at an M shape on it, I believe. Yeah. Still not too late, but I wouldn't enter a play, obviously, where we currently are. For this, I think this is going to go to this T1 target. You've already hit the T1 before, but this is your type 2 return. I think it's going to hit there. And the next entry here is pretty simple. You go and flip this into support. If that happens, this thing can have a move towards the next set of highs. And another thing I wanted to look at is, because I always talk about SWI with you guys, is SWI against Sol, right? If I had to choose between SWI and Solana for next cycle, you look at this chart, right? Because you guys know, you don't just have to look at the USDT pairings. You look at the actual BTC pairings, the comparative pairings as well, like the ETH charts. I think SWI, because Solana's a multi-cycle coin, and obviously unless it goes back down towards $8 again, you're buying.
Oh, we don't hear you.
Can you not hear me?
Maybe your micro.
Maybe I think my mic's busted. That could be why.
No, I can hear you. You're good.
Okay.
Yeah, I can hear as well.
Nice, bro. Can you hear me now, bro?
I apologize. My laptop, man.
Yeah, no, it's okay, bro. It happens. I'm used to it now. It happens every stream. It's fine. Okay, but yeah, I think SWI against Sol. I think I'd rather take a bet on SWI, right? For Sol, maybe I'll just have like just a bit on my Phantom, right? Just like a set number that I'm happy with. Just buy it and hold it once a certain price level gets hit. But apart from that, I think SWE will be the better move, because I've shared this chart with you guys before as well, but look where it is. Like, if you're wrong below 83 cents is what we've been saying. It's been going sideways. You've completed massive, 1.618 extensions. You're at your demand line. Like, if you're wrong, you know when you're wrong here, right? But the upside target here is new. Again, SWE's a coin that hasn't been around for a proper bull market. Sol has, right? So I think SWE's just got more room to run, right? So SWE, I think I'll choose SWE. So SWE is one I'll definitely have spot. But that being said, like we talked about, Sol, like betas, like Jupe, like Pump. Like, look at Pump, bro. This, like, I know I went over there at the start of the stream already, but this looks good, right? This can easily give you a move towards, like, 28, 30 cents, and then die back down. But that's still like 40% move you can capture. Like, you just go on the lower. If you want to really pinpoint entry now, because obviously I gave this at the actual deep crab, right? It's a little bit off there, so just go to a lower time frame and just find a area you can manage your risk around for a scalp if you want to really, really mitigate your risk. Ondo, another one, right? Massive M shape. It's at PRZ. We know this. That's only the crab. We know there's a bat on this one as well. There you go. So we've got two distinct PRZs, 1 and 2. If one gets flipped to support, I'm going to be trading some Ondo, right? To higher prices to take some liquidity out from the top side before it collapses back over again. Because again, I don't think these will be forever bottoms or anything like this. And even if it is, you will get better entries. Even if it's slightly higher, you'll get marginally better, like, price action backed entries. And once again, I will go back to Link as an example, right? For those of you that missed the start of the stream, if you can do something like, you don't have to be so linear with your entries. It's not just entry DCA1, DCA2 stop loss. I hate it when people just give that as entries, because that's the most boring way you could try and trade this market. Also, probably the most inefficient way. Because entry DCA1, DCA2 does not account for time, and time is the thing. It's not levels, it's not price fluctuations that get you guys, it's time, right? But the thing is, think about it. If you slept and you're holding spot, right, and price dropped 20% and went back up 15% overnight, you wouldn't really care, right? But what you would care about is if your asset is grinding down, like, over time, over 6 months to 9 months, all you've done is lose value slowly. That's what gets people, right? And entry DCA1, DCA2, it's easy to try and bait in people to try and give signals, but it's just not how you play the market if you want to actually be able to hold your positions with conviction and stuff, right? So the better way to do it is, if your area is like this and you want to hold long-term spot, let's say you want 10k into Ondo, split it into half, split it into maybe 60-40, whatever ratio you're happy with, right? Maybe for now, just to make it easy, let's say half, so 5k. Out of the half 5k, you save that future 5k for a future allocation when you have a completed M shape, or you get some sort of confirmation that this is indeed accumulation. Because if this is not the accumulation for the forever bottom, guess what? All of this at some point will be raided, right? But if you're trying to build a long-term bag and you have 10k, right, for this, then let's say you split it into 5k and 5k. Forget about that 5k for now, that's for the future. With that other 5k, you start entering here, right? If this flips, you look for an entry, again, normal entry, right? You have invalidation, you have an entry trigger, and if the entry trigger hits, you hit. And then you wait for signs. It goes up, you take profit like a normal person at resistance, because you're aware that for forever bottoms, 99% of the time, you're going to get some sort of M shape back down, some sort of ABCD wave structure back down to reconfirm that it is support. You check any sort of higher time frame accumulative structure, right? I'm going to keep going back to Link because that's just the simplest example to give. But if we go back to Link, which is right over here, LINK, Link, there you go. Even if you didn't buy here, even if you didn't buy over here, guess what? The structure at some point was retested. It was. And, your entry here, yeah, it's not a $4 entry, but it's still a very, very good entry, because you didn't really, your big move up happened from that point, right, to take it to $31. So it's not like you missed out on a move. But the clever thing is, if you start allocating some position at this area because you're aware that it could be a bottom, right? And then you have fully positioned at the confirmation, right? Some sort of confirmation of the actual bottom. That's how you try to get around the time aspect. And the time aspect is what people do not consider. They simply consider percentage moves up and down, right? But time is what gets people. So you have loads of time to enter positions. I keep telling you guys you have loads. And this isn't the only example, right? I give you guys the stock examples before as well. Like, accumulation becomes clear. So there's many ways you can play this. So, Ondo is another one you can do, right? Around the around this area. If you flip one into support, what else is there? There's Asta. Asta's another one. There's Pepe. This was the Pepe long I gave last stream. Still in play, right? Still in play. I still think this is a very nice target to try and have for Pepe from that low we entered last stream, which was here. Your first obvious target is to take these out around 6-month fair value gap high. But if that gets flipped this time around, I think these highs get taken. So I'd be aiming for this here. But Pepe is nice. Farcoin, you know, above 22,194, easy to manage risk. Very, very easy to manage risk above this level. You're trying to play this to, you know, 26 cents and beyond on Farcoin. It actually looks decent. I'm not even lying. Farcoin looks decent here. You just need to flip this resistance into support for your next set of plays. Like, again, same problem, right? That weekly buy seller zone that many things are up against. Farcoin is up against that as well. You flip that, you know, you've got a nice little range for you to run. Like, look, every time this has been support, what have you done? Minimum here. So then you just target that again, right? You just be like, okay, well, I'm looking for a minimum to move towards 37 cents. Like, there's many opportunities right now. CAS, like the coins I'm looking at haven't changed, right? CAS, I think this is an amazing place on the higher time frame. If you guys look at the, that's just one. Where do all my structures keep disappearing to? One sec. CAS is here. There. Same story as Ondo. You flip one into support, right? This zone, you flip it into support, get above that resistance. And again, you've rejected off CAS on the same area as well. You notice the same areas on the chart, everything is correlating to. It's that buy seller zone, right? Right now, we literally see ETH is the only one that's above, which is why I'm saying ETH looks really, really good. Everything else is still below your actual weekly buy seller zone here. When you start getting above this, again, you can play CAS towards like 7 cents maybe, right? Somewhere up in this area. A few others. Aether looking for a flip. No flip, no entry on Aether because you're below all-time lows on this on Bybit. FET, this one was an easy high time frame entry, right? The entry I gave on FET was this one. You get to the demand zone low, the demand line low rather. Sorry, you get in somewhere around this area, right? Just because it's super easy to manage risk down there. Still not too late or anything. Like, just look where you are. It's not too late. You just got to flip these resistances into support for your next set of entries. That's all. I think Litecoin's at a very beautiful area still. You know, your historical price range 1 mid support. If mid is support, range highs becomes next. $64 will come. 65 will come at some point. And you've got a completed M shape. So LTC. Aave, obviously, right? Aave is insane. Aave was a very, very good entry here. I think Aave will do really, really well. Still the biggest protocol in ETH, I believe, right? Still does numbers. And if you think ETH will do well, then obviously Aave, you'd have to believe, does well as well. A lot of stablecoin activity is also taking place in Aave. One over Tau. So that's some of them. And there's a few more I want to go over. Let's take a look. Ton. Ton is at, if you look at where your 2025, right? This is your freshest yearly level. In 2025, you're saying this is the area where you want to consider because buyers were active. You've retested the mid of your 2025 area in 2026 already. That would be the initial entry trigger, right? That retest tap right there. But it's not, I wouldn't enter here simply because it's in the middle of nowhere right now, right? But it's not too late. Like, above 165, you have an amazing entry still on Ton to try and play. And if you get below 165, you just cut, right? That's your area around which you watch your invalidation and your validation for entries. But again, the reason I like Ton is it's going to be in one of these charts, probably this one again. There you go. Wait, is it this one? I think it's this one. There. This is very, very simple. But 886. You just want price action to now go and correlate around that 886. Right, that's all you're looking for. Is there any other wave structure I'm missing? Let me take a look. No, there isn't. Unless there's ABCD or something. That should be everything. But, you know, above this area, which lines up with that 12-month, previous 12-month high. So if I do this, you have an area that you know you need to get above on Ton for you to go higher. And that is this one right over here. So eventually, what I would expect is something like this. There's your mitigated order block. That's resistance. Ultimately, you'll be looking for a thrust up, flip this into support, right? Structure telling you, okay, you're accumulating around this area, and when that's properly confirmed to be support, you're going to have a nice move up on ton towards this area here, in my opinion. But ton is something else I want spot of, right? I think this will do really well next cycle. Like Telegram coin, I believe. A few more. If you want a lottery ticket, look no further than Seapool. Literally just take a look at where this is. If you're going to take a shot, if not here, then where, right? There you go. Buyer zone from 2023. You're at the mid of the said buyer zone. In fact, just like with Aptos on the lower time frame, if this flips into support, like, and you want to take a leverage trade at this even, yeah, you could try and do it within validation. Is if you lose 0.02506, just cut. Right, you start closing candles below here, just cut. And I'd rather you just re-enter when you get above again. But that above this area, that area is like, you look for moves to the upside as long as you're above it, right? But for now, liquidity has been taken, so I wouldn't trade anything yet. At this point, just wait for the daily close, right? Because there's no point taking a trade when there's 2 hours 32 minutes left for the daily close. So just wait for the daily close and see, be successful. But yeah, so that's a lottery ticket if you want one. Seapool right there. You don't need it to do crazy numbers. You just need it to do a few percentages, and you're making a lot of money. Like even just to like the low of your next structure, right? That's nearly 3x, or rather 300%. And then the two other ones I want to look at is number one, Pendle, and the reason I'm looking at Pendle is this. I'm very interested in this area. The 886 has not hit yet, and I really hope it does hit. But even if it doesn't, two things. Here's Pendle. It still has a little bit higher, but you're approaching that big resistance everything is rejecting off of right now, which is the weekly buy seller zone. So if this flips, there's your long trigger. If it doesn't flip, you actually have a nice short trigger to maybe take it down once more towards 88 cents, right? But just watch the area on Pendle. And if that hits, in my opinion, that looks beautiful. Gorgeous. And virtual, that's the last one I want to go over, because massive M shape, type to return is successful in holding. You have multiple completed M shapes here. At some point, virtual will run to the upside, because just for now it's refusing to just like stay down, right? It's refusing. So any entries here is a bit wide, but you're in validation. I wouldn't enter leverage here simply because you're already off the actual ideal entry, which is the 886, right? And also because you're smack bang at resistance right now, which is right here. But should you flip that into support, yeah, you have a long to take, pretty much just to take that, or scalp, right? Scalp. And if you flip that into support as well, you can then turn that scalp into a swing to try and take out these highs over here. But virtual is another one. So there's just some extra coins for you that you can play on spot or like swing leverage, so on and so forth, right? I think I've already shared this list with you guys, but these are grayscale assets under consideration. ENA, I'm very interested in above 0.13. I'm very interested in getting back in this. We murked this coin last cycle, right? Absolutely killed it. I want to run this back if we get above this. You can see many things are trying to reclaim very important levels. Like, look at this. Like, everything, that one weekly level is holding the entire market down right now. The weekly buy seller zone, right? You get above that, you go towards your distributive area above on many coins.
If Aave keeps performing too, Eno will go with it. They're correlated.
Yeah, for sure, bro. And
you have like that savings account on Aave.
What did you say? You have a savings account on Aave?
Yeah, I forget what they call it, but that's where they have a high yield savings account for the Aave app and whatnot. It's all through ENA.
Yeah. That's fine. Another one I want you guys to have on your radar is this, okay? Syrup, not as well known, but this is Maple Finance. Look at the chart. I don't need to say much more. Look at the chart. It looks insane. This is, you could just turn your brain off, left curve it, falling wedge. If you break out, retest, you enter a play, right? You can literally just do that. But of course, you can look for deeper. It's a bit too deep. Hang on. No, what I was looking at was a shark. It was this. to this, to this, to this, right? So the 1.618 has pretty much been hit, which is the minimum for a shark. I do want one more move down to the 886, but again, like, we could go up and then come down to complete these wave structures, right? There's no point missing out on any sort of relief rallies just because you have to wait for this level. So if this breakout retest, like Syrup is going to be one good one to try and get into. And in fact, you can correlate Syrup simply around two areas. Number one is the seller zone. Number two is the macro read. There you go. Giving me false hope of the breakouts here. I mean, technically it is breaking out. One sec. If I was to try to frame an entry around this, how would I do it right now? And never go into an entry thinking you need to have one. That's how you try to force entries, but it's always good to consider that that is an obvious range high right here. There you go. There's your range high, right? So, one or two things. Either this SFPs with bearish divergence, which doesn't look like it's going to happen, but it still could, and you re-attack the range lows at some point, or you have a very nice opportunity to enter a trade when that range high is flipped into support properly right here, right? There's a little bit of a leeway here on the daily with the seller zone and all that right there. So this area here, you want to be above the mid to that low, right? You want to be above that. So maybe I'll just go and do this. There. And let me turn off this and this for now so it's not confusing. So you guys now know how I got that, right? As long as you're above this, I'd long. As long as you're below this, I wouldn't long. I'd try for shorts instead. But if you get above, then you're looking for that minimum. And it's all about tight ROs with these trades, right? Because, percentage-wise, it's not like a crazy move. But with tight risk management, that's where the edge really comes in. That's the why you should even bother trying to take these trades. But that's Syrup. Looks decent. So yeah, just keep an eye on some of these. Morpho. Already went over this one. I think this is on the AI. I don't know how big or if AI is ever going to have like a really big narrative. But I mean, some of these charts, just from the principle of where they are. I don't want to go over too many charts with you guys either, because I don't want you to feel like, oh, I need to be in all of these. You don't. Just take a look at some of them, right? Venice token. What is this shit, bro? Why has it been pumping? Piss off. Virtuals. WLD. Honestly, I just want this to get rated on while WLD or Liberty Finance. That'd be an insane entry. If that rated and reclaimed, that'd be a beautiful entry. Some of these projects I hadn't heard about until I looked at the grayscale consideration assets, which is why I gave you guys this watch list, right? H&T, another one, been out since 2021, but have very, very nice areas if anyone wanted to actually accumulate a position on this. Or try for like a swing long, Like if you don't want spot, just swing long it, right? Wormhole. I don't know if wormhole will come back, but I've got this mark just in case. Because on Woo Network, that's the exchange listing low, 0.01. If it raids and reclaims, it might be worth a bid. Just a little lottery ticket. Oh damn, bro! I was literally looking at this like yesterday and the day before and stuff, but yeah, it's whatever. I'm not going to waste brain cells looking at this. I'm not going to waste brain cells looking at this either because I have no idea why on God's good earth TRX is so bullish. Look at this chart, man. This is insane, bro. Okay, now. It rises. Yeah. There was a question that was asked earlier. What was the question? I wasn't sure what block meant. I just realized. Dixie, yes. Let's take a look. So Dixie, off the top of my head, we're within like a multi-year wave structure, like a couple decades long now. Maybe it's in this one. There you go. It's this one. So we know we're within a massive wave structure in Dixie, right? Like you can look at this on the yearly. There you go. 618, 886. We didn't quite hit the actual 886, but we front ran it, right? But we confirmed the 786 is the resistance. Like the actual price action is gorgeous. If we look at the monthly, front ran the deep gully, but you went to the mid of your consolidation range, right? 2022 high. All of that was a nice zone. You went smack bang into the middle of that zone. Down, and then you went up to actually confirm the 786 of the gully back into resistance. You have your distributive structure right over there. Initial, rate on liquidity, reconfirmation of resistance. And now all you're doing is you're still correlating around your first target, 382. You're just chopping around there. As long as the 382 holds, like you actually wouldn't be surprised if you had a move back up to the top of the channel. Like you wouldn't be surprised from here if Dixie rallied, right? On the other side, what you want to see is you want to see the 382 being lost, and it's even clearer than that over here. You just straight up want to see this range, this very tight range that we've been in. You just want to see this get lost. Let me do it on the quarterly basis. There. Right, that range, that's over there. You just want to see this range get lost. This range is lost. You know, the only thing you have keeping you up is the bottom of this demand line. Otherwise, you're at range mid right now. Like if I was looking at this, right, I was looking at waiting till the daily close or whatever, I would probably actually attempt a long, right? If this was a traditional asset they wanted to long, like when you see structures like this, you're looking for a long, right? So you wouldn't be surprised if Dixie moved up, filled the gap, back to the range highs again, so on and so forth. If that's lost, however, you know, you're looking for shorts back to the downside over here. So Dixie right now, like there's no clear edge where you currently are. If you're looking at this on the daily, you're looking at this on the weekly, there is no defined edge on, oh, this looks like it's ready to go higher or lower. Could do either. It's a coin flip. Because you've had your first initial move down, you're sat at the first target, and sellers have tried to keep taking it lower, they failed. Buyers have tried to keep taking it higher, they failed. You keep correlating back to fair value in this case, which is being represented by that obvious target, the 382. So as we speak, on the daily, the edge right now leans towards the buyer side. You know, if it gets below the 382, the edge will lean towards the seller side for the local time frame, and you know, we'll go down. Otherwise, you know, maybe got to fill that gap, break above, and ultimately, before we get a proper collapse on Dixie, we could see it go back up, maybe towards like areas like this, right? Chop around, confirm 103 as resistance, and then die afterwards, maybe. Now, who knows? I say maybe because who knows, right? Just an idea, but you know, the levels, that's what I'm certain on. Like what it's gonna do, that's just up to us to read the price action on a regular basis to try and figure out. Right now, on a daily basis, I'm leaning more bullish on Dixie. So on a daily basis, it looks like it could go higher over the next few days. But again, let's see how the daily closes, right? Yeah, so we see. Plus, it's if you look at the stable coins, right? If you look at USDT plus USDC dominance, that looks bearish, and people focus on that too much because on the macro, all you've done is the last level highs. Like you're still in an uptrend on like if you're looking at this, you're in an uptrend still on stablecoin dominance. You haven't hit your targets yet. So if I go here and I go to master list, we look at USDT dominance plus this. Like here's your targets for stablecoin dominance, right? As long as you're above that B, it's the BAT 886 2.618, and then for an extension you've got the crab 1.618 3.0 as well. Right, these are two measurable targets we have right now. So you could come down, you could hit that, you could hit the diagonal. And let me take a look. Locally speaking, you can try and do like key inflection areas and stuff for this as well if you guys want. But that's a 5.0. So 5.0, I'd be eyeing a 886, right? There's your 886 here. Like, even if you did all this, the structure would still be bullish on stablecoin for now. If you're looking at this particular wave structure we're currently in. Like you've taken some of these highs out, and then what you want to do is you want to turn the local, you want to turn daily, you want to turn 3 days, weekly into a downtrend. But the problem with saying that is to turn the daily into a downtrend or the weekly. In both cases, you have to go and take out X, which is all the way down at 7%, right? On the 4 hours, have we shifted structure on this? The last higher low that led to the higher high is, so even on the 4 hours, you're fine, look. Like the structure you want defended is here. That wick right there. As long as you're above that, even on the 4 hours, you're still in an uptrend, right? Because that was the last high low that gave you the measurable higher high. So you can consolidate as long as that's protected. You would go up in terms of trend. But yeah, let's see how this plays out. Because what could happen is, right, this move down, even to the 886, could be all there is to your relief rally before you go lower again, right? Or this could be the top, and there just isn't enough structure yet for us to look at this and be like, yeah, for sure this is the top. And you couldn't say that with, I couldn't say that with confidence here right now. And again, just like your cryptos, the reason your cryptos are all going into your weekly buy-seller zone from the downside, your stablecoin is going to it from the upside, look, right? Exact same structure, just inverted. So if this holds, we might not even get that 886. If this holds, like you might just, carry on your merry way upwards. Who cares if they open the straight, bro? Like, news is just news. They can fluctuate at any time, right? But, you start turning this to resistance. Now we're talking, because this is going to directly coincide, and you can go in, mark my words, just look at every single crypto chart. This is going to directly coincide with all the cryptos we saw resistance with the same structure, flipping it to support, and then we can get that, next impulse up that I'm talking about, right? So you can see why you wouldn't enter any sort of like, longs where we currently are, because it's just, you're taking a bite at the wrong area, right? As long as this holds, you'll be looking for scalp to swing shorts. But you flip that, and all of a sudden it's, it's inversely correlated. The only thing that looks good, that's why I keep saying ETH. ETH is already past that point, so it has room to grow. which is why ETH betas also is probably where I'd focus my attention if you want to trade some coins. Pepe, I don't know all the ETH betas, but just look at some ETH betas that look good and just try those. Aave. Because if ETH loses this, then yeah, you've got nothing going for it. Everything will be below resistance. ETH would have lost it. I would think you go lower, i.e. this goes higher. Nice, bro. I closed out my average swing. I took profits on that, but I still have a little bit left, just in case it does go higher, right? But I've not opened a short. I missed the short, so I'm just gonna wait to get another short opportunity. I just opted to take some profits. But yeah, that's total. There's total 2, like, you know, bouncing off support, but again, approaching resistance, right? It's just this peak is stalling out at resistance. So you flip that, you go higher. Otherwise, you know, you've raided range highs. Maybe you go and raid range lows once more, chop out both sides before you go up. But yeah, what I'll do is I'll do another stream in the future where we actually go over like, you know, specific cryptos and stuff, specific stocks. Like, you know, we'll do those where we build things out. I also did promise Sniper that I would do a stream where I completely build a NQ chart out from scratch. So I'll have to get that done some point next week. There won't be I'll have to do, so next week I'm going to try and do 2 core sessions, because I missed 2 core sessions for the batch already. So I'll try and do 2 core sessions. And the next session for Elliott Waves and Wyckoff will be the week after next. I will coordinate that with you guys in the relevant chat. But yeah, this week I've just been very, very busy. We've had full houses on both restaurants, so I've been driving back and forth, helping my staff out when I can. And obviously, like, you know, I have to keep on top of things for my own hedge fund as well. So, Russell shares. Oh, let me just show you guys something, yeah. Because the NQ low, right, is such a bullshit low. In the sense that it could have been so much nicer. Like the SPX low was very, very nice. If I show you guys this, so we'll begin with SPX first, right? Just to try and put into context, SPX. This was really nice because you look at the thesis. You have a bearish wave structure, right? That was everyone was hailing this as the top, and it was happening right at the moment. They were like, oh look, SPX is like 1.618. It's gonna top our head. We've had the 4.0. You hit a crab. But what did SPX do? Flip it into support. And even with this, right, all the liquidity rated, what did you do? You reconfirmed that bearish harmonic to be support, and then you rallied off it. Beautiful, right? The context is absolutely gorgeous. Tick. Then you go and look at NQ, bro, and you had from the system that I use anyway, right? The only thing you had in here was a 4-month low, which is right over here, right? You had the 4-month low from September 2025. You rated that, and it went up. I was looking at the footprint charts when this was happening. You had no aggressive sellers being trapped, right? You had no trap traders. Aggressive buyers weren't really stepping in either. So, for how I normally look at the charts anyway, for me, like, this absolutely blasted up out of nowhere, bro. The NQ, I was like, what the fuck? The nice entry would have been, obviously, you have your box here, right? Because obviously there needs to be a moment where everyone, like, looks to pivot. It would have been when if you're talking like Wyckoff, would be right over here, right? They have your spring, which is right here, and then there's your spring back test, right? This is not proper Wyckoff. It doesn't have all the like ST, so on and so forth. But I'm just taking a Wyckoff principle, applying it, right? A cumulative structure, right? Initial support, radar liquidity, reconfirmation and support, right? That's there. So that was beautiful. But this low was utter bullshit. You just took some random 4-month low out, and then without any sign from the footprint, without any sign from anything, just ran it up. So this low I do not like, but this one was beautiful. But yeah, the low for SPX was very, very nice, right? You took out and you reconfirmed what was meant to be the top of a bearish structure. Even after all this, They were like, nope, Bozo, we're still going to use their support, and they just rallied it straight up from there. This one was gorgeous. Just wanted to point that out. Because I had a tick in my eye when I was looking at the NQ price action. I was like, what the hell? And I read somewhere as well that apparently NQ has never had more than like 12 consecutive like green candles in a row or something like this. So like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I don't know like if it's bullshit or what, because I've never backtested something like that. But yeah, this looks good, man. It's like, you know, above this, like what can you do? Again, you're at price discovery. Right now you just run it up. Only thing you could do is go into log and look for log levels to go to. That's the easiest thing. But we'll do that on the stream, right? I don't want to take too much of the guys' time today. Hang on, get rid of that. So this one is still in my long-term port. The reason I got into this again, Merlin is for aerospace what Tesla is for cars, right? They're trying to make, you know, your aerospace stuff, everything completely like, you know, like self-driving, self-flying in this case, I suppose, which is why even if this comes down, like I do not care about this. I will just keep adding this over time. It's very speculative right now because obviously, you know, it's very early doors, but I don't see why they couldn't fulfill what they want to do, right? So just keep an eye on this one, guys. Merlin. For a long-term play, I think this one's solid. Again, very speculative right now, right? Very speculative right now. But if they set out to achieve what they can, if you think Tesla's huge, imagine self-flying, or imagine no more need for like, or rather, you will still need pilots, but imagine like, you know, you have planes that can take off and land without pilot assistance. You have everything automated in the sky, right? Helicopters, planes, cargo, everything. Can you imagine how big of a market cap that would be? So this is very, very early doors for that reason. This is a long-term play. It would take decades for like proper like insane growth, because obviously we're used to crypto. But you know, things like this is where you look for structure early doors, right? You look for things early doors, and you just put a little bit in as a speculative bet. I'm calling it a speculative bet. I'm not calling it an investment. Or rather, it's a speculative investment because you don't have to actively trade this. Just buy and hold some. But yeah, I think. Oh, and one more is of course Fly. Insane. Fly has hit the 886 of the bat. Very good area to try and look for shorts, to be honest, for Fly. I'm so pissed because I literally posted this chart for you guys, right? I posted the chart like, oh, I can see the vision on this shit. Didn't take the play that night, and from next day, it just went straight up. Like, it was so unfortunate. Wait, one sec. Let me just find the chart for you. Fly. Where did I chart it? Should be here. Oh yeah, there you go. That's why. There. It was literally. Come on, buy seller zones, right? Oh, bro, it's like it was so nice. Smiley face, accumulative structure to the move up to the trend line breakout, right? So when I posted it was literally right over here. You've broken above. You're looking for that retest, and yeah, after that it was just like, you know, the gap fill. There was a godly gap fill here, daily gap fill above the gap fill. And I was looking at like, oh, I'm just gonna wait until like, you know, we get a breakout retest. I'm gonna enter, and then sometimes you just don't get it, you know. So it's what it is. But you've hit the 1.618 extension and you've hit the bat. I would not be buying this here. If you were doing anything, I'd be looking for short opportunities here. Pullback, a deeper pullback, some sort of shark, something, a higher low somewhere a bit deeper, right? Between the 28 to 24 range would be insane. The chart would look so much better. And then that would be something I would not miss a second time around for a bid. But yeah, insane chart. Like, you know, go back to range highs. If you lose the range highs, go to the range mid. Somewhere around here would be insane. Even range highs I'd be happy with for a potential entry. Russell's Russell 2000, is that what you're after, bro? There is a correlation between the Russell 2000 and then risk on, right?
Yeah, that's the question. Yeah,
Russell
the Russell
2000. Yeah. So there is a correlation. Typically, obviously, if your low cap stocks are doing well, that shows you the environment for lower cap also to be doing well as well. If you look at the previous proper bull runs for all season, the Russell was like, you know, breaking out, right? The Russell was in a very, very strict uptrend. But right now, the Russell 2000, I haven't checked it, but is it actually breaking out to new all-time highs?
Yeah, it just broke an all-time high for the first time.
Nice. Okay. Well, if you can sustain that, that's a pretty good first step towards getting some rotations toward alts. But if you SAPs, bro, that's going to be absolutely terrible. It's going to be insanely bad. So yeah, just keep an eye on it.
Yeah, that's what I was kind of hoping. But I was thinking too. It closed all-time high, so that's good to start at least. Start Monday. We'll see.
Yeah, bro, I'll keep an eye on that one too. But yeah, that's going to be.
I just think that might correlate a little bit with low cap cryptos and whatnot, right? The X2E and such.
Well, it's like we were saying, bro. It's like so many of these things are at areas where many of these cryptos don't bounce from here. Then they're going way deeper. So you would think if they're gonna get some sort of relief rally, it'd be from somewhere around here for many of them. So for sure, it's interesting. Like that's why I'm sharing some of these plays with you guys. Like easy to manage risk, just take the shot. Don't care about where you are in the cycle or whatever, because you're not entering because you want to hold long term. You're entering because you have a good RR opportunity where you can manage your risk. And if you're wrong by a limited amount. If you're right, you have way more to gain than you have to lose. So it's just, you just stick with that recipe over time, and you're not gonna care about what they say on the news, so on and so forth, right? Before I go, two things I have to mention. Rivian, still in this, looks insane, right? Rivian looks crazy. The chart looks even, and this is what I was telling you guys, even if we were dumped all the way back to 15, right? At 13, I remember distinctly saying this to you guys, the chart looks even better if the dump is successful. The dump held, the dump is successful. And there's another view I would like to give you guys of this, which is, if I go to, is it this one I drew it on? One sec, let me just confirm. Yes, this one. So what I've got on the screen here is the pointer controls, right? If you look at the fixed range volume profile, the footprint charts, these are the yearly pointer controls, down to the lowest tick you can go to, right? The 2024 pointer control is at 1025. The 2025 pointer control for the yearly is at 1325. The 2023 pointer control is at 1455, and the current yearly pointer control for 2026, which is still ongoing, is at 1525. You are above all of those. The only thing you're not above is the 2022 pointer control, but guess what? That's all the way up at 32. Right? So look at that structure. You get above this box, Rivian flies, and this time around, I don't think we stop here. I think all of these get taken, and I hope Rivian gets towards 32, at which point I will, take half of my positions, whatever, should we get there, and hold the rest, just in case it decides to fuck around even higher. But Rivian, Neo, look, no drawings on the chart. Look at this and tell me this is something you're going to fade and ignore. These are where you want to plant those seeds, right? These are where you want to plant those seeds. So come harvest season, you actually have a field full of harvest, and you're not just stuck there with your dick in your hands with no food, right? Watching all your fellow farmers reap the rewards of what they've sown. This is where you plant those seeds. Those seeds can turn into something very, very beautiful. You just need time. That's all you need, time and patience. This is not a low cap crypto, right? These are especially for stocks. They're legit companies. They have products, right? They're backed, earning reports, everything. You can keep on track of these. So you don't have to put much, but understand, I will not be surprised if Neo goes towards $30. Just putting that out there. Right? I would not be surprised if Neo goes towards $30. I wouldn't just look at this chart and tell me it looks impossible. It doesn't. Right? If you look at the wave structure, one sec, something called log here. Oh yeah, that's just gonna be the log structure. One sec. Let me go to this. Let's go to Neo. Just for the crab pattern, that's this, right? But don't forget, Neo doesn't just have a crab pattern, he has something way bigger. And that's something way bigger. I'll just draw it fresh. I can't be asked to sift through my messy ass drawings. I'll just draw it here. That's something bigger on Neo is, you can call it a shark, you can call it a bat, you can call it whatever you want. But at the end of the day, it's this. So this is the reason for the challenge account. Obviously, you guys know I've got Rio and Nivian, but also for my own personal account. For that, so it started this year. Obviously, I moved 50k into my CFD account fresh, and then 50k into just the investor account outside of the challenge account, right? 25k of that is in Destiny Tech, like I was telling you guys. 25k of that's in Neo right now. And both of those positions will be increasing, right? But even just look, it's like, you just got to go and base, this can be a cumulative structure, whatever you want to call it. When this gets confirmed, Neo sends, right? It sends, and you're just looking at an all-time from high to low. You're simply looking, even in a conservative basis, you're looking at a 382. That 382 is at 27, liquidity rate is at 29. So let's go fill that tiny gap level. Let's go take all of these out, right? Because accumulation takes time, but once accumulation is done, like even on stocks, it's only a few weekly candles, right? Or a few monthlies before we reach these targets. The most painful part is this. But NIO looks good. XPeng looks good, right? Rivian looks good. Look at XPeng. It's rated the lows on XPeng. I know I keep saying it's the last one. There's just so much to show you guys. So XPeng, bullish wave structure. You went up. You're now flipping type 2 into support. Your lows of the range. Here's the range, right? I just... Oh, one sec. One sec. I think I was blocking the cooling section on my laptop, so it's just having a meltdown. Just give me a minute. I hate the designers who put the heating of the laptop, like the sink, at the bottom. It's the most annoying thing in the world. It's like you would think they'd engineer it to be like the top side, right? But no, right at the bottom where there is zero airflow, that's where the entire fan grill is. Like, come on, bro. Just one moment, guys. As soon as it gets back to the right temperature, it will stop lagging out. There we go. Okay, perfect. So range low rated, right? And that is a smiley face. Look, that is a smiley face. So invalidation is super clear. Look, if you go and lose that range low, just cut. Otherwise, just hold this to range mid, and if range mid flips to range highs, if range highs flips, you're gonna get 1.618 at some point. That is a 91% move from where we are to the 1.618, right? So there's a lot of opportunities out there. Lot. You don't have to take all of them, just take a few. UPS, right? We've gone over this already. Insane chart. Look at where we are. Massive M shape completed. Yearly's retested, right? Smiley face, a cumulative structure put in. You just need a breakout retest or something. Or just DCA over time within this area. Like however you want to do it. But these are the areas where you do it, right? No matter what you do. Tandem, diabetic, same thing. Insane chart, massive M shape with a type 2 return. Once again, a cumulative structure. There you go. Easy to manage risk. Super, super easy to position something. Right. So yeah. And then CoreWeave. One of my plays that I gave this the same time as XT. But I was, again, so occupied with the idea of the 886 that I just wasn't paying attention to the price action at these lows. So I just don't have like a good size position on this whatsoever. So it's what it is. Like, I was putting all my focus into XT. But again, this is fine, you know. Like I still cashed down XT. And the Lemonade short altogether, that was like 120k nearly. So from January of this year start to now. So, but yeah, if 382 flips on CoreWeave, like that's your next range. You're above this range, so you literally just play the next range. Where's your next range? Your next range is here. Simple. From here down to here. Like, it's as simple as that, right? So who cares if I miss this? If this long is successful, or rather this, you know, I do expect some chop, but hopefully we get some chop. If this holds, I will play a scalp to 134. If that flips, I'll play a scalp to 150. That'll be the next target. Like, I don't care if I don't get a bottom entry. It's about risk management. If I get an opportunity to manage a risk entry around here, I'll do it. Wait. Extend back out. So yeah, CoreWeave, still keep it on a radar. Just a few guys. And if you guys have any other stocks, crypto you want me to look at, let me know, and then we can get that done next time, right? But I don't want to take up too much of your time. And I've also been talking for a little while, so I think I want to unwind for the evening. I'm going to go make myself a nice little Desperado Sour and just chill out for a bit. But do you guys have any questions before I end the stream here? Bro, this laptop's good. It's an Asus ZenBook Pro. I got it because I didn't want to get like a full gaming laptop, right? Because I can't really travel with it. But I don't want to get just a work laptop because I do like to game. So this is like a perfect in between. Like it can handle pretty much anything I throw at it, like video editing, photo editing, gaming, or just streaming, relaxing. The only thing bad about this is just like the way that it does the cooling. I didn't realize it when I bought it though. So I appreciate you for hopping in, bro. Alex, always a pleasure, brother. Thank you. Yeah, streaming is a different beast for sure, bro. I want to go on YouTube as well from sometime this year, probably. I'm going to be in Asia again. Obviously, like Q3, Q4, I reserve for traveling, so I'll be in Asia for a while. I think this time around it's going to be Q3 and a bit of Q4. Hong Kong is going to be a large portion of that. It's going to be Hong Kong, Japan, and Thailand. Those are going to be 3 main I hit. I'll be in Nepal at some point as well again. Got to check up on all the land and stuff. But yeah, I still have my laptop and stuff for when I stream, and I'm gonna buy like a GoPro and a drone because I really want to make like just travel videos. Maybe create like a separate channel, and then because I've got a passion for it, so like I think it'd be like a cool thing to try and get into. I've never really done video editing before. I literally just record my screen and share it. But getting into proper video editing and stuff, yeah, travel would be dope, bro. Especially when I do up like all the Himalayan peaks in Nepal. Like, you know, Everest Base Camp, Annapurna Base Camp, the Manaslu Trek, because I will be doing all of this over the next few years. I want to record the whole thing. Opus AI, I'll take a look, bro. I've got no idea how to do video editing. I've never really done it before. So, that's something I'll look to do, though. As in Claude. Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah, then it sounds okay. Well, I mean, if I need help, I can ask you guys if you guys have some experience. Okay, bro, that sounds interesting. Yeah. But yeah, no, I can't wait for this Asia trip this summer. It's gonna be fire, man. Especially Hong Kong, back to the roots. I've never been before, but I know one of their hotels got like the #1 hotel in the world, Rosewood. So I've just booked my stay like the entire time. I'm just gonna be in Rosewood. Nice, it's my pleasure, guys. I've not been that active last week because I've been really busy. So I thought with everything that's going on, it's good to keep our heads on, right? Because you know this is the moment when everyone FOMOs. It's just psychology 101. It's like if you really really wanted to buy, you had all that time when BTC when any crypto you're looking at was in that range, at range lows. You had so many chances for execution. Like, you know, if you didn't execute there, you have zero business trying to execute now. It's like so. You know, I just wanted to do here because I know none of you guys are going to sit there top blasting for no reason, right? But it's just good to really have that sort of, you know, like a group look into what we should be doing, what we shouldn't be doing, so on and so forth. Help you guys make more informed decisions. But yeah, anyway, I'll stop this recording here, guys. Oh, it was 2.5 hours.